Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 41 Rejection. I am indeed terrifyingly strong, even after 3 times a day, my kidneys are fine. Chen Yang staggered out of Shaochun Hall, reaching out to support his waist. I've completed the task assigned by Ji Yuxuan, but even if I cultivate superior yang essence, she might not necessarily be able to take it away. He possesses a bizarre talent, no leakage, reverse absorption. This cannot be turned off. If I really engage in dual cultivation with Ji Yuxuan, I might drain her dry, and I myself would explode. Chen Yang squinted, watching the hurried pedestrians on the street, now even fewer. Strange, why are there even fewer people today? Without thinking further, he still had to go to the Joyful Union Hall to submit the task. Within the corpse demon sect, in the past, although it also exuded an eerie aura, the disciples shuttled back and forth, adding a bit of vitality. But now, the huge street seemed so empty. Occasionally, a few passing disciples had eyes full of fear and vigilance, not daring to linger for even a second. An ominous premonition surged in Chen Yang's heart, and he dragged his still somewhat weak legs towards the Joyful Union Hall. Along the way, the bloody smell became more and more intense, and miserable screams faintly came, as if from the 9 nether hell. When he finally returned to the core area of the sect, he learned that the sect was conducting an unprecedented large-scale purge. What? A large-scale purge? What's going on? Chen Yang grabbed a disciple who looked flustered and asked. The disciple glanced at him in horror and said in a trembling voice, "Senior brother Chen Yang, don't you know? The sect leader suspects that there are spies within the sect colluding with external enemies and wants to conduct a comprehensive purge of us. Anyone with the slightest suspicion will be dealt with." Chen Yang remained expressionless and continued to ask, "Why is there a sudden purge?" "It's because of Elder Ma, who was killed last time. It made those spies from various sects worry about being discovered. Disciples kept running away, and the upper echelons of the sect were furious, so they started the large-scale purge today," the disciple slowly explained. "So that's how it is. All right, you can go." The accidental cause of this matter was still because of himself. Chen Yang was somewhat surprised. But he was very puzzled. The corpse demon sect used cultivation methods to control its disciples. To enter the corpse demon sect, one must cultivate a technique similar to the body tempering art. How could they betray the sect? Or could it be that someone from the righteous path could persist in being a spy even under the threat of death? Thick, ink-like blood mist rolled and surged between the eerie palaces, with miserable screams and desperate roars intertwined and echoing within. The corpse demon sect leader stood with his hands behind his back at the peak of the towering corpse lord hall, his black robe fluttering in the wind, his face stern as thousand-year-old ice, and his eyes revealing a chilling ruthlessness and determination. At this time, the outer disciples of each peak within the sect were being purged. In his eyes, those corpse demon sect disciples who were dragged away during the Great Purge, eliminating them required no pity. However, the sect leader, who seemingly had everything under control on the surface, was being quietly entangled by a trace of hidden worry in his heart. This Great Purge, aimed at eliminating those who harbored dissatisfaction with his rule, was followed by a series of strange events as it progressed. There really are hidden spies lurking within the sect. The sect leader muttered to himself, his voice suppressing a monstrous rage that could erupt at any moment. He slowly turned around, his gaze shooting towards Ji Yuxuan beside him like lightning. "Yuxuan, during this Great Purge, many strange things have occurred frequently. What are your thoughts on this?" The sect leader's voice was low and majestic, like a heavy hammer striking Ji Yuxuan's heart. Ji Yuxuan frowned slightly, and a light of contemplation flashed in her beautiful eyes. She said softly, "Sect leader, this disciple does not know." The sect leader's expression became even more solemn. The brainwashing methods of those few sects of the righteous path are truly powerful. Those exposed spies of the righteous path all committed suicide directly. Ji Yuxuan cupped her hands and accepted the order, her eyes full of determination. "In fact, this righteous path is nothing more than this, no different from my demonic path." The sect leader looked into the distance, as if to penetrate the layers of blood mist and see the truth hidden in the depths of darkness. He slowly said, "Indeed, it is time for a good cleansing. By the way, that Chen Yang has done a good job. I plan to give him a spot for the selection of true disciples. But sect leader, he is just a cauldron I cultivated. How can he become a true disciple? He also has credit for flushing out so many spies of the righteous path this time. Besides, it's just a spot. The possibility of him becoming a true disciple is too low. This disciple understands. Yuxuan, there is one more thing. Recently, I have noticed that the Star Sword sect seems to be retaliating against the sect. News from the Xuanming Holy Land says that a large-scale war is about to break out between the righteous and demonic paths. Elders from the Holy Land will come to select disciples to go to the Xuanming Holy Land. At that time, you and other true disciples must pass. The sect leader said with a meaningful expression. Ji Yuxuan's heart trembled. She did not expect this matter to involve such a wide range. She nodded heavily. Sect leader, rest assured, Yuxuan understands. After saying that, her figure merged into the blood mist like a ghost, leaving only the sect leader's lonely figure, at the peak of the Corpse Lord Hall, gazing at this place where a storm was about to come. Comma 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 comma. Comma 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 comma. Comma 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 comma. Under the carved beams and painted rafters and fragrant, misty corridors of the joyful Union Hall, several inner disciples were gathered together, whispering to each other. On the corridor, exquisite wood carvings presented various fantastic scenes of immortal spirits, but the disciples had no intention of appreciating them. Inside the hall, light gauze danced, like clouds and mist swirling around, and the faint sounds of silk and bamboo instruments, in this quiet corner, did not dilute the curious or disdainful expressions on their faces at all. Have you heard? Chen Yang has actually become Senior Sister Ji's gigolo. The speaker was a disciple with a pointed face and monkey cheeks, his eyes flashing with malicious light. Bah, what gigolo? He's just a cauldron for others to cultivate with, a short, fat disciple with a face full of anger spat disdainfully. With his little ability, he can only rely on this method to get ahead. Chen Yang is really lucky, a tall, thin man curled his lips, his tone filled with a bit of jealousy. With Senior Sister Ji's protection, he can walk sideways in this joyful Union Hall. But I heard that Senior Sister Ji is not good to him. She often beats and scolds him, showing no mercy at all. A slightly naive disciple frowned, his eyes full of doubt. So what? As long as you can hold Senior Sister Ji's thigh tightly, what does it matter to be beaten and scolded a little? Maybe one day Senior Sister Ji will be happy and reward him with some cultivation resources, enough for him to enjoy for a lifetime. The short, fat disciple snorted, his face full of disapproval. At this moment, Chen Yang was walking from a small path in the flower bushes on the side. The delicate flowers in the flower bushes swayed gently in the breeze. His steps were steady and his expression was calm. Those discussions, like wisps of wind, drilled into his ears. On the surface, his expression was calm, as if he had heard nothing, and he walked straight forward. When those inner disciples saw Chen Yang, the expressions on their faces instantly became respectful, and they said in unison, "Greetings, senior brother." Chen Yang nodded slightly, his footsteps did not stop, and he continued forward, leaving a group of inner disciples looking at each other. However, he had already remembered the appearance of these people, and there would be many opportunities for revenge in the future. Walking through the corridor, Chen Yang entered the main hall. Inside the hall, candles flickered, and the night-shining pearls inlaid on the walls emitted a soft and cold light, intertwining with the ambiguous atmosphere of the light gauze dancing in the hall to create a strange feeling. "You're back." Ji Yuxuan, wearing a black dress, looked up at him, her voice cold, as if it came from the nine nether hell. "Yes, senior sister." Chen Yang's heart trembled slightly, and he hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully bowed. Ji Yuxuan snorted softly, the sound like the breaking of ice laying. "The sect will grant you an opportunity to become a true disciple." Chen Yang was overjoyed, a hint of uncontrollable excitement flashing in his eyes, and he hurriedly said, "Senior sister, this junior will definitely work hard to become a true disciple and live up to the expectations of the sect and senior sister." Ji Yuxuan stood up, moved her lotus steps lightly, and walked in front of him. She was slightly taller than Chen Yang, looked down at him, her eyes with a hint of complexity. "I want you to refuse." "Refuse? Senior sister, why is that? Such a rare opportunity." Chen Yang was shocked, his eyes full of astonishment. Ji Yuxuan gave him a white look, her eyes seemed to be able to see through his thoughts. "Stop talking nonsense, this is to compensate you. If you don't refuse, I won't let you off easily." "Yes." Although Chen Yang had 1,000 doubts in his heart, he could only helplessly agree. A flash of light appeared in Ji Yuxuan's hand, and a jade slip appeared, handing it to Chen Yang. Chen Yang took the jade slip and probed it with his divine sense, discovering that it was actually a method of strengthening the living puppet Dao soldiers. Chapter 42, Unlocking the Secret Letter. In the tranquil and secluded inner disciple residential area of the joyful Union Hall, green tiles and white walls were scattered in a well-arranged manner, surrounded by black bamboo. A gentle breeze rustled the bamboo leaves. After Chen Yang returned to his residence, he keenly noticed a strange atmosphere surrounding the selection of true disciples. The corpse demon sect has always been low-key. Why is it suddenly conducting an assessment for true disciples? With a thought, he transmitted the message. Inside the weird blessed land, Lu Yuan, who was cultivating the Star Sword sect's techniques, suddenly received information from Chen Yang. Why is there suddenly an assessment for true disciples? He turned his head, looking at the two central avatars beside him. Because they had both cultivated the art of divided mind, they were like two precise intelligent computers, able to divide their minds and effortlessly control nearly 100 avatars. These avatars were like keen tentacles, spread throughout the Star Sword sect, the Shadow Death sect, the Corpse Demon sect, and other corners, constantly collecting information from all sides. However, Lu Yuan had not cultivated the art of divided mind. To prevent the massive amount of information from causing a mental shock and leading to madness, the avatars did not transmit all information to him immediately. The two central avatars quickly processed the information, rapidly reciting the news about why the Corpse Demon sect was selecting true disciples. Lu Yuan learned the reason through a living puppet Taoist soldier avatar in the Corpse Lord Hall. It turned out that the Corpse Demon sect was selecting true disciples to go to the Xuanming Holy Land. Lu Yuan's heart stirred. If Chen Yang's avatar can become a true disciple, he can obtain the completion palace realm cultivation technique. In this way, the hidden dangers on his body can be solved easily. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yuan decided to fully assist Chen Yang's avatar in becoming a true disciple. At this time, the central avatar continued to report in an orderly manner. Chu Jing has also obtained a spot for the true disciple assessment. Upon hearing that Chu Jing had obtained a spot for the true disciple assessment, a look of joy appeared on Lu Yuan's face. Chu Jing, the woman he regarded as a child of fortune, was someone he had not focused his consciousness on through the living puppet avatar for a long time. Lu Yuan quickly concentrated his mind and sensed Chu Jing's situation through the living puppet avatar. After sensing for a while, he nodded in satisfaction, muttering to himself, Chu Jing is also about to return to the sect. It seems that this trip has been quite fruitful. Since that's the case, then reveal the method of strengthening living puppets to her. He was already secretly planning, quickly conceiving the details of cleverly guiding Chu Jing to collect materials and start the strengthening living puppet plan. After all, this time Chu Jing went out and coincidentally obtained the inheritance grottos left behind after the fall of several powerful figures. This fortune was truly extraordinary. Then, Lu Yuan received a large amount of information from the avatars, and he was very satisfied with the situation of the avatars in the past few days. Oh, the avatar in Yaohua Valley has finally mastered the art of alchemy. A hint of surprise flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes, followed by a thought, then, can't I copy this alchemy technique to the avatar going to the market and let him open a pill shop to earn Zon crystals? Now, Lu Yuan needs to maintain the operation of many avatars, and the cultivation points have gradually become unable to meet the demand. He urgently needs to develop more ways to obtain resources. Weird blessed land, how much fate does it cost to copy first-order alchemy to another avatar? Lu Yuan silently recited in his heart. Copying first-order alchemy to another avatar requires 100 fate. A line of information clearly appeared on his iris. It's actually so expensive. Lu Yuan looked at the information on his iris and couldn't help but click his tongue. He then checked how much fate he had left. As his mind moved, detailed data unfolded before his eyes. Weird blessed land master, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1666. Talent, none. Fate can be consumed and shared with avatars. Realm, gathering profound 7th layer 206,400 can absorb avatar cultivation to improve. Root bone, inferior grade. Fate can be consumed to obtain from avatars. Technique, body tempering art. Fate can be consumed to obtain from avatars. Spell, none. Fate can be consumed and shared with avatars. Gathering profound early stage avatars, 200. Gathering profound middle stage avatars, 180. Gathering profound late stage avatars, 20. Gathering profound completion avatars, Chenyang awaiting breakthrough. Blood demon awaiting breakthrough. Fate, 636 points. Looking at this data, Lu Yuan frowned slightly, pondering to himself, recently, the war has stopped, and the speed of obtaining fate by relying on some tasks has become slower and slower. Moreover, many avatars have died recently. Although relying on so many avatars can still obtain 100 fate every day, it is not a long-term solution. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yuan gritted his teeth and made up his mind. let's copy this alchemy technique. Resources and Zon crystals are equally important, and managing too many avatars is becoming increasingly difficult. Copy the alchemy technique to the avatar Heyang. With Lu Yuan's order, a strange light separated from the weird blessed land and shot towards Heyang's avatar at lightning speed. The knowledge of alchemy, like a torrent, poured into Heyang's mind. Heyang is now in the bustling Nanline market, where people come and go, and the noise is endless. The streets are lined with various stalls, selling a wide variety of cultivation items. He is currently working as a handyman in a pharmacy. Although he doesn't have a divided soul, he can still maintain basic humanity with the control of the art of divided mind. After a while, Heyang took a deep breath and walked straight to the shopkeeper, saying, "Shopkeeper, I want to tell you something. I plan to resign." The shopkeeper raised his head in surprise, shifting his gaze from the account book, and looked up and down at Heyang, asking, "Why do you suddenly want to resign? Are you not satisfied with the treatment here, or is there something else?" This Heyang is usually dull and does things mediocre, but fortunately, he doesn't say a word when bullied, and his emotions are stable. Such people are not easy to find now. Heyang had been prepared for this and replied calmly, "There are some things I must go back to deal with. I'm really sorry, shopkeeper." The shopkeeper waved his hand helplessly and said, forget it. Since that's the case, go pack up." Heyang thanked him again, turned and left, preparing to set up a pill shop according to the master's order. A few days later, the weird blessed land was still tranquil. Lu Yuan checked the information summarized by the central avatar every day without fail, and then immersed himself in the cultivation of righteous techniques. Knowing that Chen Yang was likely to become a true disciple, Lu Yuan also continued to absorb cultivation points. He could gain about 50 cultivation points every day by relying on the daily absorption of cultivation points and hard cultivation. He also considered cultivating the art of divided mind to control more avatars and thus obtain cultivation points exponentially, but he, being naturally cautious, would never want to be contaminated with esoteric soul techniques that had hidden dangers. At this time, one of the avatars in the weird blessed land, holding a letter, said, "The restriction is lifted." This letter came from Long Yinzi's storage bag. Lu Yuan reached out and took it. As Zon power was injected, the runes flashing on the letter gradually dissipated, and the restriction was broken. The letter began with, "Long Yinzi, I have found a place of condensed extreme true profound inheritance deep in the northern forest mountains. This place is hidden behind layers of mist and ancient formations. If it weren't for the accidental discovery of spatial fluctuations, it would be difficult for ordinary people to detect. Outside the inheritance site, there is a strong Zon Qi overflowing like substance, transforming into colorful auspicious clouds that linger for a long time. The true profound power contained within is vast and ancient, presumably left behind by an ancient great power. According to my observation, the inheritance site has multiple restrictions, each containing the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. There are also many Zon beasts guarding the periphery, with various forms and terrifying strength. But in the face of heavy treasures, there must be heavy dangers. If you can successfully enter and obtain the inheritance, you will definitely greatly increase your strength and dominate one side. I am alone and weak, and it is difficult to contend. I hope you will come quickly to discuss major plans and take this supreme opportunity together." After reading it, Lu Yuan was not interested. Although there were opportunities in the inheritance site, the risks and benefits were not proportional to him. With his current number of avatars, ordinary inheritances were difficult to attract him. However, the content at the end of the letter made him stunned instantly, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. "I am acting under the orders of the Star Sword sect, lurking in the demonic path for many years, and have obtained many key information. After the inheritance site is over, I will talk to you in detail about the handover." Qian Cha. It turned out that Qian Cha was actually a spy planted by the Star Sword sect in the demonic path. Lu Yuan immediately fell into deep thought, quickly sorting out the information related to Qian Cha in his mind. Qian Cha, as a true disciple of the corpse demon sect, was actually a spy for the righteous path. There must be a complex layout behind this. Chapter 43, Yi Yang Dao. Nanline Market City is a bustling and prosperous place where Zon practitioners and ordinary people coexist and thrive, creating a scene of prosperity. Here, it is not uncommon for Zon cultivators to act as guards for ordinary people, as these ordinary people often have complex forces and backgrounds behind them. In the southern district of Nanline Market City, there is a slightly simple shop where Heyang and several figures are busy. These figures are all Lu Yuan's clones, coordinated and directed by the central control clone, cooperating with each other tacitly, as if they were one. They are skilled in their movements, and soon, they tidy up the shop in an orderly manner. Afterwards, Lu Yuan's consciousness, like a wisp of breeze, quietly descended on He-Yang. This clone, relying on the constantly accumulated cultivation points, has already reached the 5th level of Juzan. He-Yang lightly lifted his foot and walked straight to the alchemy room inside the shop. The alchemy room is not large, and several ancient alchemy furnaces stand quietly in it. Although these alchemy furnaces seem ordinary, they emit faint spiritual fluctuations, as if telling their extraordinary nature. He-Yang took a deep breath and stepped into the alchemy room. Although Lu Yuan's main body has not personally practiced the art of alchemy, the relevant memories and knowledge are as clear as if they were branded. And He-Yang, this clone, has skillfully mastered first-order alchemy. According to the detailed alchemy secrets in his memory, he slowly circulated the Zan power in his body and carefully injected it into the alchemy furnace to preheat it. At this time, exquisite prescriptions of various elixirs and key points during refining constantly appeared in his mind, and his eyes were fixed on the inside of the alchemy furnace, not daring to slack off in the slightest. As Zan power poured in continuously, the alchemy furnace gradually heated up, emitting a slight buzzing sound, as if it were playing the prelude to the upcoming alchemy feast. He-Yang stretched out his hand and took out a Qingling grass with a shallow age from the carefully prepared medicine basket. As soon as the Qingling grass entered the alchemy furnace, instantly, a fresh and elegant medicinal fragrance filled the air, like a clear spring in the mountains, refreshing the heart and spleen. Immediately afterwards, he methodically put in other auxiliary medicinal materials in sequence. His hands formed hand seals quickly like phantoms, chanting words, guiding the medicinal power to cleverly blend and converge in the alchemy furnace. After a while, the light in the alchemy furnace shone brightly, and a round elixir slowly took shape. This elixir is the Qingxin pill, which has extraordinary effects, allowing users to clear their minds and focus, eliminate distracting thoughts, and be less disturbed by inner demons on the path of cultivation. He-Yang breathed a sigh of relief, with a gratified smile on his face. The way of alchemy is complex and difficult. Even if you know the detailed methods and steps, you may not be successful. This is why Lu Yuan wants to copy the alchemy technique to the clone. This is like giving a character unique skills in a game world. He-Yang, this clone without a divided soul, after copying the alchemy technique, only needs Lu Yuan's consciousness to descend and control the key steps, and this body will instinctively display exquisite alchemy techniques. After successfully refining the Qingxin pill, He-Yang tried a few more times. Lu Yuan observed through his consciousness and believed that with the central control clone's control over first-order alchemy, the possibility of problems was small. So, he slowly withdrew his consciousness. In this way, a pill shop quietly opened in the hustle and bustle of Nanline Market City. Outer perimeter market of the Corpse Demon sect. Chu Jing returned from her training, already at the 9th level of Juzan, only lacking the follow-up techniques to enter the Juzan consummation and plan to mend the palace. Carrying her living puppet Dao soldier, she spotted someone as soon as she stepped into the Corpse Demon sect's market. So, we meet again, Chu Jing. Chen Yang strode over. Chu Jing, who once relied on his monster beast to become an outer disciple, and see Ju, this Chu Jing is getting better and better, while the other one is nowhere to be found. Why'd I always run into you? Chu Jing frowned, said speechlessly, her eyes full of disgust. Haha, it's fate between you and me. Without me, could you have become an outer disciple? Chen Yang said jokingly with a playful smile on his face. Recalling the humiliation she had suffered, Chu Jing's eyes instantly turned cold, and she said fiercely, "Shut up. Just wait, I will definitely repay you double for the insults you gave me. I'm not here to cause trouble." Chen Yang waved his hand, the smile on his face undiminished. "Why don't we turn hostility into friendship? Look at what this is." Saying that, he took out a jade slip from his storage ring. The surface of the jade slip flickered with a faint spiritual light. Chu Jing's heart moved, and she subconsciously probed out her divine soul. Instantly, the content of the jade slip was reflected in her mind. It was actually a method to strengthen living puppets. For her, this was undoubtedly a great surprise. But she quickly became vigilant, with a hint of suspicion in her eyes, and asked, "This, what do you mean? Want it or not?" Chen Yang raised his chin slightly, a sly look flashed in his eyes. "Yes," Chu Jing blurted out almost instinctively. The importance of the living puppet to her was self-evident. If she could strengthen the living puppet, her strength would definitely increase greatly. Then what do you have to exchange? Chen Yang crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking confident. In fact, Lu Yuan's consciousness descended on the living puppet and had a lot of contact with Chu Jing. He found that although Chu Jing seemed very cunning when dealing with the outside world, she had a simple side deep in her heart. She often talked to the living puppet clone, even though the living puppet never responded to her. It is precisely because of this that Chu Jing values the living puppet very much. Chu Jing bit her lip, thought for a moment, and said, I got a lot of good things from my training, I can take out one to exchange. Chen Yang's eyes lit up slightly, but he pretended to be calm and said, let's see first. Helpless, Chu Jing had to take out a few items from her storage bag. First, a fragment of a magic weapon flashing with strange spiritual light. The fragment had complex patterns and faintly emitted a mysterious power fluctuation. Then, several rare herbs. The leaves of the herbs were covered with crystal clear dewdrops, exuding an alluring medicinal fragrance. However, Chen Yang just glanced at it lightly and slowly shook his head. Chu Jing's heart sank, and with a ruthless heart, she finally took out the inheritance she had obtained from the inheritance cave. That's what I've been waiting for. Chen Yang was secretly delighted, but on the surface, he remained calm, reached out and took it, carefully examining it. There were many techniques in the inheritance, and he picked and chose, as if he didn't like any of them. Finally, his gaze fell on a Zan technique jade slip called open double angle bracket 1 Yang saber close double angle bracket. This is it, Chen Yang said indifferently. Seeing this, Chu Jing secretly complained in her heart that this technique was biased towards Yang energy and was not suitable for demonic cultivation. Thinking that she had tricked Chen Yang this time, she was very happy and agreed to the exchange without hesitation. After Chen Yang got the inheritance, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, and a hint of imperceptible smugness flashed in his eyes. He didn't say anything more, immediately turned and left, his figure quickly disappearing into the crowd of the market. Chu Jing looked in the direction where Chen Yang left, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. She clenched the jade slip in her hand, thinking that with this method of strengthening the living puppet, her strength could be improved a lot. One day, she will make those who once looked down on her, especially Chen Yang, look at her with new eyes. Chapter 44, Crazy. Chu Jing still thinks I've been tricked, but in fact, this cultivation method is perfect for me. After Chen Yang was forced to go to Smiling Spring Hall every day and cultivate with the dual cultivation 3 times, he also cultivated the cauldron cultivation mystic technique. He had to use what he gained from the dual cultivation to nurture superior Yang essence. He had had enough of these hard days. Now, the demonesses of Smiling Spring Hall looked at Chen Yang with the wrong eyes, very disgusted. After all, each dual cultivation was very frightening for these demonesses. Without a third person present to stop it, they were very likely to be drained dry. But they could not resist the master behind Smiling Spring Hall, the true disciple Ji Yuan. Under such discrimination, Chen Yang had become a villain in Smiling Spring Hall. After each dual cultivation, Chen Yang needed to carefully nurture and transform what he had gained into superior Yang essence according to the requirements of the cauldron cultivation mystic technique, this bizarre cultivation method. However, this so-called nurturing process was nothing short of torture for Chen Yang. Each time he successfully nurtured a trace of superior Yang essence, he would feel unbearably hot all over, as if countless ants were gnawing at him from within. And the cauldron cultivation mystic technique seemed to be constantly eroding his will, making him want to release the Yang essence in his body at all times. However, a turning point appeared unexpectedly. Through the information transmitted back by the living puppet clone, Chen Yang learned that Chu Jing had obtained a righteous path inheritance from the inheritance cave. Among them, the 1 Yang blade, a mystic art based on Yang essence, was like a ray of dawn in the darkness, pointing Chen Yang in the right direction. After ending the day's chore at Smiling Spring Hall, Chen Yang hurried back to his residence. His eyes flashed, and he used the soul-splitting teleportation he had obtained after refining the Dao fruit. In an instant, space twisted, and a mysterious teleportation gate appeared. Chen Yang flashed and stepped into it. At the same time, he left behind an undetectable clone entrance at the original location. After entering the weird blessed land, Chen Yang couldn't wait to start cultivating the 1 Yang blade. He knew that the Yuan Yang in his body had accumulated quite a bit over this period, and now was the perfect time to cultivate this technique. He carefully opened the jade slip recording the 1 Yang blade's mystic formula, silently recited the incantation, and circulated the Zan power in his body. However, as the cultivation deepened, Chen Yang felt that the yang essence that was about to erupt was indeed being consumed, but a force that was difficult to bear and extremely violent gradually appeared in his body, rampaging around. The power of the one yang blade was far more tyrannical than he had imagined. His meridians felt as if they were being roasted by a raging fire, emitting bursts of severe pain. Ah! Chen Yang couldn't help but let out a miserable cry. He knew that this cultivation had failed. Worse, along with the backlash from the failed cultivation, the demon of extinguishing righteousness sword heart, which had been lurking in his body, was actually triggered. In an instant, a thick black mist filled the surroundings, and various terrifying phantoms with bared teeth and brandished claws faintly emerged in the mist, as if to completely devour Chen Yang's mind. These phantoms kept uttering sinister roars, unfeeling and unrighteous. The sounds were like heavy hammers, fiercely impacting Chen Yang's soul. Chen Yang's eyes were bloodshot. In extreme pain and confusion, he instinctively drew out the dark long sword and waved it wildly. The blade cut through the air, emitting a sharp whistle, but it could not dispel the terrifying phantoms that were like shadows following him. Lu Yuan, who had been closely monitoring from the side, had a thought when he saw this scene. Relying on the weird blessed land's absolute control over clones and split souls, Chen Yang, who had fallen into madness, was instantly unable to move. Lu Yuan frowned slightly and muttered to himself, his strength has increased greatly. He has actually broken through the boundary and reached the third level of supplementing the palace. Previously, Chen Yang's clone had reached the initial stage of supplementing the palace with the help of the extinguishing righteousness sword. This time, in a state of madness, he unexpectedly broke through to the third level of supplementing the palace. It must be said that this demonic cultivation method, although full of dangers, also has a unique charm, which can quickly improve strength. At this moment, Chen Yang, who was controlled by Lu Yuan's consciousness descending, seemed to have regained his sanity on the surface, but in fact, his split soul was still in a state of madness, but every move was under Lu Yuan's control. Chen Yang obediently walked to Lu Yuan's front. Lu Yuan looked calm, slowly stretched out his hand, pressed it on the top of Chen Yang's head, and uttered two words, zeroing. With this order, the black mist that originally filled the surroundings quickly dissipated like ice and snow encountering the scorching sun. Chen Yang's eyes gradually regained clarity, and his consciousness also returned to his own control. And the extinguishing righteousness sword he practiced had already entered the realm of harmony between technique and man. In the records of the corpse demon sect, mystic arts are divided into 5 realms: entry, proficiency, mastery, perfection, and harmony between technique and man. According to the characteristics of sword-type mystic arts like the extinguishing righteousness sword, Chen Yang can be said to be one with the sword at this moment. Not bad, the one yang blade has also successfully entered the entry level, Chen Yang said, feeling the surging power in his body. Then he showed a thoughtful look. So, the one yang blade conflicts with demonic cultivation methods. In the future, as long as I use this technique, it may trigger madness. Lu Yuan nodded slightly, with a smile on his face. Chu Jing thought she tricked me, but she didn't know that her unintentional action allowed me to possess the strength of the third level of supplementing the palace out of thin air. I still have to thank her. Lu Yuan was not worried about Chen Yang falling into a state of madness. After all, he had absolute certainty to continue to control the situation. In the bustling market, Chu Jing's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, eagerly searching through the stalls filled with rare treasures, and finally locked onto a few rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures: Millennium Cold Marrow, Blood-Patterned Demon Vine, and Purple Star Spirit Sand. In the following days, she seemed to be isolated from the world, wholeheartedly immersed in the matter of strengthening the living puppet. For these precious materials, she spent thousands of Zon crystals without hesitation. Each of these Zon crystals carried the bloody storms she had experienced in past trials, condensing her countless hardships and sweat. After buying all the Zon items, Chu Jing returned to her cave. She began to strengthen Living Puppet 42-6 according to the strengthening method recorded in the Jade Slip. She saw her hands like nimble butterfly wings, dancing quickly between the interlaced light and shadow, accurately and flawlessly integrating the Millennium Cold Marrow, Blood-Patterned Demon Vine, and Purple Star Spirit Sand into the living puppet's body in turn. In an instant, streaks of dim light flickered, and strange and majestic Zon power flowed wildly around the living puppet like a surging undercurrent. A few days later, finally, the strengthening was completed. Chu Jing stared at the brand new living puppet in front of her, her eyes full of uncontrollable satisfaction and joy, and she couldn't help but nod frequently. At this moment, the living puppet's strength was no longer what it used to be. Its movements were agile and nimble, as if it had been reborn and given more fresh vitality. Previously, in the corpse refining Dao platform, living puppet 42-6 had only just reached the 9th level of Gathering Zon, but now it had successfully broken through the bottleneck and stepped into the complete Gathering Zon combat power in one fell swoop. Chu Jing seemed to have already seen that her position in the corpse demon sect was rising steadily with the improvement of the living puppet's strength, and a bright future was slowly unfolding before her. At the same time, the inner sect elder of the Joyful Union Hall looked grim and stepped steadily into the residential area of the Joyful Union Hall's inner sect disciples, finding Chen Yang. The elder's eyes were stern, and he looked Chen Yang up and down. After a moment, he slowly opened his mouth. "Chen Yang, do you know why this elder has come here?" Chen Yang hurriedly clasped his fists respectfully and said humbly, "This disciple is dull and does not know the elder's intention. I hope the elder will clarify." After careful consideration by the sect's senior management, it has been decided to list you as a true disciple seed. If you complete a sect-designated mission, you can be ranked as a true disciple. Are you willing? The elder's expression suddenly became serious, knowing that this was just a formality. He already knew that Chen Yang would refuse the assessment mission to become a true disciple, and his eyes moved away to look into the distance. This disciple guarantees to complete the mission. Unexpectedly, Chen Yang actually agreed directly. Chapter 45 True Transmission Assessment Task. Alright, since you've already wait, what did you say? Disciple guarantees to complete the mission. Chen Yang said calmly, and the inner sect elders were surprised by this. Do you know? Elder, please continue to issue the mission. Chen Yang looked serious. The inner sect elders have a higher status than ordinary disciples but lower than true disciples. Chen Yang is about to undergo the assessment, and the elder understands that this inner sect disciple cannot be offended, so he has to continue to issue the task. Recently, Nanyuan City, where ordinary people gather in the south under the rule of the corpse demon sect, has received bad news. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary people have died strangely. These ordinary people are all descendants of my corpse demon sect's profound cultivators and have always been regarded as an important asset of the sect. The sect now orders you to set off immediately and go to that place to investigate. You must exhaust all means to thoroughly investigate the truth of the matter and give the sect a detailed and satisfactory explanation. Chen Yang immediately looked determined and replied decisively, Elder, please rest assured, this disciple will do his best to investigate thoroughly and dig 3 feet into the ground to find out the ins and outs of this matter, and will never let the sect down. The elder looked suspicious, and finally nodded slightly. Okay, this time you will go with Yan Qi, an inner disciple of the North Refinement Hall of Daobing Peak. If you encounter tricky problems during the investigation, don't be brave and you can ask the sect for help at any time. I hope you can successfully complete this mission and make great contributions to the sect. Yan Qi. This disciple doesn't know her. It's okay, you go to the sect affairs hall to meet up. Yes, this disciple obeys. Chen Yang knew that Chu Jing was going to become a true disciple, and thought they would go together, but he didn't expect it to be another female disciple. Nanyuan City, the traces of past prosperity still remain among the broken walls. The once bustling streets are now empty, with only tattered signboards rustling in the wind. The doors of the shops on the street are half covered, the goods in the shops are scattered all over the floor, and the ground is full of corpses. These corpses lying on the ground are all corpses of ordinary people, emitting a disgusting stench, and some of the corpses have begun to twist and deform, showing signs of corpse transformation. Chen Yang and a slender woman appeared in this dead town. This woman is heavily made up, with thick eye shadow outlining her enchanting eyes, with a bit of soul-stirring charm. Her lips are as red as blood, slightly raised, her skin is fair. Her long hair falls like a waterfall, the ends of her hair are slightly curled, and a few strands of dark red highlights are dotted between her hair, which is particularly enchanting. Chen Yang frowned and said lightly, Yan Qi, this mission does not say that there is a limit on the number of people we can cooperate. Chen Yang didn't know much about this Yan Qi and planned to test her. Yan Qi looked Wu Mei, her lips raised, and she replied disdainfully, HMPH, there is no need to cooperate, let's rely on our own abilities. Chen Yang was not at ease with the demonic women, and wanted to test her again. A twisted and hideous corpse turned zombie roared terrifyingly and pounced at them with its claws and teeth. Yan Qi sneered when she saw this, a trace of disdain flashed in her eyes, she gave a light shout, living puppet, go. I saw a living puppet Taoist soldier with a perfect Jushuan realm instantly appear from Yan Qi's corpse bag. It was extremely vigorous, and the cold light of the spear in his hand flashed, and with a sharp sound of breaking wind, it accurately cut the zombie into 2 pieces. Yan Qi glanced at Chen Yang triumphantly, raised her eyebrows and showed off. Did you see that? My Taoist soldier is very powerful. There is no need to cooperate with you. Chen Yang just snorted coldly and ignored her, but his eyes were as vigilant as an eagle, scanning the surroundings, not letting go of any disturbance. Suddenly, a large number of zombies surged from all directions like a tide. Their steps were stiff but with a madness, and they let out bursts of low roars. Yan Qi's face changed. Although she knew that her Taoist soldiers were powerful, she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart when facing such a large number of zombies. Chen Yang held a dark long sword, the sword body flickered with a ghostly cold light, and he used the Mei sword. Black sword energy roared towards the zombie group like a dragon entering the sea, temporarily blocking the crazy offensive of some of the zombies. Such fierce swordsmanship made Yan Qi stand there for a while, her eyes full of surprise and disbelief. Chen Yang didn't say much, and ran desperately towards a tall pavilion in the city. Yan Qi followed immediately when she saw this. As soon as they stepped into the pavilion, a gloomy and strange aura rushed towards them, and a substantial chill instantly penetrated their bones. The light in the room was dim, filled with a thin layer of mist, which hindered people's vision. Some strange light and shadows flickered faintly on the walls, as if countless eyes were peeping at them in the dark. Yan Qi couldn't help swallowing, with a pitiful look on her face, and said in a trembling voice, I'm so scared, this place feels more terrifying than outside, it seems that there are fatal dangers hidden everywhere. Stop pretending here, I don't know your little thoughts. In the past few years, Chen Yang has also figured out the true face of the demonic woman. What are you pretending? This city exudes an unspeakable evil spirit. Could it be that some strange event has been triggered? How could so many people die? Can't you investigate it yourself? What's the use of nagging here? I still need you to tell me, even if you don't say it, I will find out myself. The 2 of them were ordered by the sect to step into this town filled with a strange aura to investigate. In fact, they both vaguely felt that a strange event had happened here, and the sect sent them here to explore the traces of strange objects. The 2 turned around and began to carefully examine the surrounding environment. Yan Qi did not let go of any corner, carefully moving her steps, each step was with vigilance. Chen Yang slowly closed his eyes, and aura around him gradually converged, entering a visual state of soul leaving his body. His consciousness was like an invisible flying bird, shuttling through this dead town, keenly perceiving every trace of strangeness. Suddenly, Chen Yang suddenly opened his eyes, a flash of light flashed in his eyes. He walked straight to a mottled wall, his eyes locked on a place on the wall that looked ordinary but revealed a trace of strange patterns, carefully observing it. At this moment, a black shadow quan out from a dark corner like a ghost, so fast that it was like lightning, and pounced on Yan Qi, who was unprepared. It's actually an evil ghost. This evil ghost's body was twisted, and the body that was like a human but not a human exuded a disgusting stench. Its eyes were like burning ghostly green flames, flashing with cruelty and greed, its mouth was wide open, like a bottomless black hole, and several souls of ordinary people were being devoured crazily by it. The souls made miserable cries, but they could not escape the control of the evil ghost. Yan Qi's living puppet reacted quickly, and instantly stood in front of Chu Jing like a black lightning bolt, and its thick arms grabbed the evil ghost firmly like iron tongs. After being caught, the evil ghost struggled desperately, making a sharp roar from its mouth, and the sound seemed to pierce people's eardrums. Chen Yang's eyes turned cold, like 2 sharp blades shooting at the evil ghost. He was about to interrogate it and wanted to dig out more information from the evil ghost's mouth. Suddenly, the entire pavilion shook violently, as if an earthquake had occurred. The light and shadows that were originally faintly visible on the walls began to twist crazily, and a grand and eerie voice echoed in the pavilion like a Hongzong bell. Outsiders, how dare you disturb our feast, you are seeking your own death. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 46, Blood Demon. Faced with such a terrifying scene, Yan Qi remained serious and showed no fear throughout. Chen Yang knew this was the true face of a demonic witch, and he tightened his grip on the dark longsword in his hand. Immediately afterward, a massive evil spirit slowly emerged. It resembled both a ghost and a demon, emitting a dense, pale green mist, its aura seemingly capable of freezing the surrounding air. The evil ghosts captured by the living puppet Dao soldiers were pulled by an invisible force, letting out unwilling roars before transforming into wisps of black smoke that merged into the evil spirit's body. After absorbing the evil ghosts, the evil spirit's aura became even more terrifying. Chen Yang showed no fear. This thing was only in the late stage of the gathering profound realm, so he launched the first attack. With a wave of the longsword in his hand, several black sword energies shot towards the evil spirit like dragons emerging from the sea, carrying a sharp momentum. The evil spirit snorted dismissively and casually waved its sleeve, instantly creating a black-green light screen that dissolved all the sword energies. Then, the evil spirit stretched out its massive hand, grabbing towards the two like a small mountain. Yanqi hurriedly commanded the Dao soldiers to resist, the long spears in their hands flashing with cold light as they forcefully stabbed at the giant hand. Chen Yang seized the opportunity to flash around to the side of the evil spirit like a ghost, gathering all his profound power to deliver a fatal blow. Bang! The evil spirit was struck, and a large portion of its body was shui-ku. Suddenly, a melodious flute sound came. The flute sound seemed particularly abrupt in this eerie atmosphere, its tone melodious and graceful, yet with an unspeakable strangeness. After hearing the flute sound, the evil spirit's body, which was only half remaining, directly recovered, and even its sluggish movements became more swift, its aura surging wildly, its strength reaching the palace completion realm in a short time. This sudden change astonished Chen Yang and Yanqi. Although the two were in the same crisis, they each harbored their own plans and had not used their full strength. Seeing the evil spirit's exceptional power, a sect in Chen Yang's memory surfaced, the evil ghost sect. Chen Yang abruptly cleaved open the evil spirit's attack with his sword and shouted, "Yanqi, hold it off for a while, I'll go after the mastermind. This mission concerns the sect's mortal property, and I'm relatively stronger, so I have a better chance of catching them." Upon hearing this, Yanqi immediately objected, shouting loudly at Chen Yang, "You can't go. I'll chase after the flute player. You stay and deal with this evil spirit." Chen Yang frowned and retorted, "No, my strength is a bit stronger than yours, I have a greater chance of succeeding in the pursuit." Yanqi coldly snorted, "Do you think I don't know what you're plotting? This isn't the time to argue about this. I have a gathering profound realm living puppet, and with my cultivation technique and profound arts, I can fight a palace completion realm expert, so I have a better chance of pursuing." However, at this moment, Yanqi's living puppet, which had always obeyed her commands, suddenly had a strange red light in its eyes for some reason and uncontrollably stopped its defensive actions. Seeing this, the evil spirit immediately seized the opportunity to attack Yanqi fiercely. Yanqi was shocked, hastily dodging while trying to regain control of the living puppet. But no matter how she commanded it, the living puppet remained motionless, as if it had lost its soul. Seeing this situation, Chen Yang seized the opportunity to turn and leave. Yanqi faced the evil spirit alone, gradually exhausting her strength, and had already sustained several injuries. Just as Yanqi was about to collapse, the living puppet suddenly regained control. "This broken living puppet always malfunctions at critical moments, I'll sell you back to the sect when we return." Yanqi was furious, but at this moment, she could only suppress her anger and focus all her efforts on dealing with the evil spirit before her. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Outside the pavilion, the eerie flute sound still echoed in the air. In fact, Yanqi's living puppet was also a clone of Lu Yuan, relying on the strange blessed land. Lu Yuan had absolute control, and everything about Yanqi was under the control of Chen Yang, or rather, Lu Yuan. As soon as Chen Yang stepped out of the pavilion, he keenly spotted a Zan cultivator figure wearing a dark green robe and immediately began to pursue. The Zan cultivator wearing the dark green robe fled swiftly like a ghost, while Chen Yang chased closely behind. In fact, with Chen Yang's strength, he originally had the ability to kill the evil spirit with one blow, but for certain considerations, he didn't want to reveal his strength too early, nor did he plan to have Chu Jing act with him. After all, they both bore the responsibility of monitoring each other during this mission, so he used a little trick. At this time, the dark green-robed Zan cultivator's speed was extremely fast, obviously having practiced some exquisite movement technique. Chen Yang gritted his teeth and used all his skills, but the distance between him and the opponent still widened. The dark green-robed Zan cultivator seemed to realize that he was about to successfully shake off Chen Yang and suddenly stopped, slowly turned around, a sinister and smug smile appearing on his stiff face, and made a shrill sound, "Jia Jia Jia." Chen Yang snorted coldly, his eyes revealing endless killing intent, judging that this person was not human, and sternly said, "Playing tricks. Is it a puppet, or a Dao soldier?" In an instant, he thrust his sword at the opponent like lightning again. However, the dark green-robed Zon cultivator did not confront him head-on, but flashed away again, fleeing into the distance, while still not forgetting to mock Chen Yong while running away. Jia Jia Jia. Chen Yong frowned, reached into his bosom, took out a blood-red coffin exuding a strange aura, and threw it forcefully forward. Accompanied by an eerie howl, the coffin opened with a bang, and the blood demon Dao soldier instantly transformed into a thick cloud of blood mist, sweeping towards the dark green-robed Zon cultivator at an alarming speed. Seeing this, the smugness on the dark green-robed Zon cultivator's face was instantly replaced by horror. This was a blood demon that had absorbed a large number of clones and broken through to the palace completion realm. Yuan had spent nearly 3,000 life points to cultivate it, and it was also his first palace completion realm clone. At this time, the blood demon Dao soldier was like a ferocious beast descending the mountain, quickly Shang the dark green-robed Zon cultivator. Both were at the palace completion realm, but the blood demon Dao soldier was even stronger, and the dark green-robed Zon cultivator or Dao soldier was not good at close combat. Chen Yong seized the opportunity and arrived nearby in a few leaps. The dark green-robed Zon cultivator struggled desperately, chanting words, and a Zon talisman flew out of his hand, instantly turning into a raging fire, attempting to dispel the blood demon Dao soldier. But the blood demon Dao soldier seemed unafraid of fire, and instead became more ferocious in the flames, tightly Chanje him. Chen Yong pointed his longsword directly at the opponent's throat, asking coldly, "Speak, who sent you here?" The dark green-robed Zon cultivator wore a mask and could not see his appearance, nor did he speak. Only his body began to swell rapidly, actually planning to self-destruct. Chen Yong was startled and hurriedly cast a spell to recall the blood demon Dao soldier, while himself flying backward. Boom! With a loud noise, the explosion stirred up a huge wave of air, and the surrounding trees were uprooted. When the smoke gradually dissipated, Chen Yong found that the dark green-robed Zon cultivator had disappeared. Not self-destruction, an escape technique. HMPH, you think you can escape like this? A hint of ruthlessness flashed in Chen Yang's eyes, and he quickly pinched out a Zon incantation. The blood demon Dao soldier let out a sharp howl, flew directly into the air, and chased rapidly towards the east. This was a Dao soldier Zon technique mastered by the blood demon Dao soldier after entering the palace completion realm, Blood-Life Pursuit. Chapter 47 Yan Qi's Plot. In a mansion within a town of mortals, the air was thick with the stench of blood. Countless corpses lay strewn across the ground, the blue flagstone floor dyed crimson. The air reeked with a nauseating, metallic odor. The entire mansion resembled a slaughterhouse, but instead of animals, it was humans being butchered. Just then, a dark green figure darted in like a phantom, landing gracefully in the center of the mansion. The newcomer wore a dark green robe, his face was stern, and a chilling wave of Zon energy emanated from his body. Moments later, two more dark green figures flashed into existence, surrounding a captivating woman in the center, seemingly whispering something to her. The woman possessed a captivatingly feminine appearance, with elaborate makeup. Her eyes exuded a bewitching, eerie beauty. Her eyeshadow was heavy, her lips a vivid, blood-red, carrot tinged with a subtle, almost imperceptible smile. However, her gaze was icy and cruel, sending shivers down the spine like a venomous snake. A blood demon at the replenishing palace realm. And the corpse demon sect can actually nurture one. The woman said softly, her tone laced with mockery, clearly familiar with the corpse demon sect's methods. However, before her words could fade, a thick, coppery scent of blood suddenly assaulted them. A blood-red figure roared as it charged into the mansion. It was the blood demon of the replenishing palace realm. Without a word, he launched an attack, engaging the three dark green-robed Zon practitioners in a fierce battle. The blood demon was enveloped in swirling blood mist, each strike carrying immense Zon energy, as if intending to devour everything. They exchanged blows, the collision of Zon energy creating deafening booms. The surrounding buildings crumbled under the aftershocks of the battle, sending dust and debris flying. Chen Yong arrived closely behind. He surveyed the battlefield, his expression calm, and said softly, "So these Zon practitioners are all Dao soldiers." Upon hearing this, the enchanting woman turned her head to look at Chen Yong. A smug smile gracing her face, she giggled, "Just evil ghost Dao soldiers I refined, boy. If you know what's good for you, you'll obediently leave. You're the culprit." Chen Yang's gaze was like a knife, staring directly at the woman, without the slightest fear in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "Judging from these evil ghost Dao soldiers, you must be a disciple of the evil ghost sect. Why are you wantonly slaughtering mortals under the jurisdiction of my corpse demon sect?" You must give my sect a reasonable explanation today. Haha, why should my evil ghost sect give your corpse demon sect an explanation? The woman lifted her head, her tone full of disdain. You're just a minor cultivator at the Gathering Zon realm. I'm already giving the corpse demon sect face by not killing you. Now, hurry up and get lost. Her attitude was extremely arrogant, as if everything was under her control. In fact, the assessment task that the corpse demon sect had given Chen Yang was quite vague, only requiring him to investigate the cause of the destruction of the mortal town and resolve it. Now, the cause had been found, but given the current situation, it was clear that he and Yan Qi, who was hiding in the shadows observing, had no way to resolve it with just their own means. After all, they were facing a powerhouse at the replenishing palace realm, and they could already seek help from the sect. However, Chen Yang happened to have many tricks up his sleeve, and recalling the item hidden in Yan Qi's sleeve, an idea was born. The plan began. Then he sneered, since that's the case, then don't blame me for being impolite. You must come with me today. Laughable. The woman mocked, you should consider your own strength. Now, your reliance, that blood demon at the replenishing palace realm, is already being tightly entangled by my evil ghosts. What other tricks do you have? Besides, if I go with you, do you think your corpse demon sect dares to do anything to me? Her words were not false. In the demonic factions of the Western Wastelands, the Heavenly Demon Sect was the leader, and the Evil Ghost Sect was on good terms with the Heavenly Demon Sect, its status far above the Corpse Demon Sect. If Chen Yang were to forcefully attack, it would be akin to hitting a rock with an egg. However, Chen Yang seemed to have not heard her threat. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and the dark black longsword in his hand stabbed out fiercely. The sword's momentum was fierce, carrying an indomitable aura. Courting death. The woman sneered. With a wave of her sleeve, 3 evil spirits at the replenishing palace realm instantly flew out, heading straight for Chen Yang. Chen Yang's expression was grave, the sword of annihilation in his hand danced like the wind, sword energy crisscrossing. Relying on his own astonishing talent and perfect control over the sword of annihilation, he actually fought the 3 evil spirits at the replenishing palace realm to a standstill. Each time the sword blades clashed, dazzling light and piercing sounds erupted, the surrounding air was even distorted by the shockwaves. Oh, I didn't expect you to be a genius, actually able to fight beyond your realm. A hint of surprise flashed in the woman's eyes, but she quickly returned to her disdainful expression. Unfortunately, you met me today. If you retreat, you can still save your life, otherwise, you can only become a wandering soul. Chen Yang snorted coldly, the sword moves becoming even more fierce, but after all, his strength was limited, and he was carelessly struck by a dark green fireball cast by the woman, falling heavily to the ground. Not bad, man and sword as one, it's not bad to kill a genius. The woman laughed triumphantly. Remember, the one who killed you is the true disciple of the evil ghost sect, Ting Ting. Just as she was about to deliver the final blow, Chen Yang suddenly shouted, Yan Qi, aren't you going to take action yet? However, Yan Qi, who was hiding in the shadows, did not appear. She had originally planned to reap the benefits. However, she didn't expect that the living puppet beside her would suddenly lose control, flying out directly and attacking an evil ghost. Unexpectedly, the living puppet and the blood demon cooperated tacitly, quickly severing the arm of an evil ghost Dao soldier, causing it to let out a miserable scream. Seeing this, Ting Ting sneered, the little cat in the dark, finally willing to come out. Yan Qi was annoyed. How did this living puppet suddenly lose control? It actually went to fight on its own without my orders. Chen Yang seized the opportunity to get up, black mist swirling around him, the longsword in his hand stabbing out once again. Ting Ting finally realized that something was wrong. Chen Yang's strength was constantly increasing during the battle, even faintly suppressing her. Impossible. You're just at the great perfection of the Gathering Zon realm, how could you have the strength of the 3rd level of the replenishing palace realm? Ting Ting roared in terror, her shoulder pierced by Chen Yang's sword, blood flowing straight down. Chen Yang said coldly, now it's time for you to pay the price for what you've done. Just as Chen Yang was about to give Ting Ting the final blow, Yan Qi suddenly took action. She flicked her long sleeve, a small bottle appearing in her hand, and with a gentle sprinkle, a cloud of pink mist suddenly spewed out from the bottle's mouth. The mist was as fine as silk, quickly spreading in the air, carrying a sweet fragrance. However, her living puppet unexpectedly blocked some of the mist flying towards Chen Yang, causing her to inhale it herself. The pink mist took effect extremely quickly. She only felt her body weaken, her legs as if filled with lead, no longer able to support her body, staggering back a few steps. She then tried to control the living puppet to take her away, and the living puppet did indeed walk towards her, but instead grabbed her, her hands pinned behind her back, unable to move. Ting Ting was also affected, her eyes dazed, her steps faltering, almost unable to maintain her balance. Chen Yang sneered, all of this was within his calculations. He slowly walked towards Ting Ting, grabbing her. At the same time, the living puppet also escorted Yanqi over. The struggle between the demonic path is ultimately a matter of life and death, become the foundation for my path of Zon cultivation. Chapter 48 The Demon Sect's Plan. Chen Yang sneered, Zon power surging in his hand, several golden Zon technique threads flew out like spirit snakes, firmly binding those evil ghosts who had lost control. Although these evil ghosts had lost the control of their master, they still exuded a gloomy aura, as if they could break free from their restraints at any moment. He didn't care, casually tossing them aside, planning to deal with them later. Then he turned to look at Yanqi and Ting Ting, a hint of sarcasm flashing in his eyes. Yanqi barely supported her body, her face pale, her eyes full of resentment. Ting Ting, affected by the love powder, had a dazed look in her eyes, and unconsciously moaned from her mouth from time to time, already losing her power to resist. Yanqi, you're not using the love powder correctly. Chen Yang's lips curled into a mocking smile, his tone carrying a hint of playfulness. Your methods might work against those ordinary male disciples, but against me, hee, you're still too tender. Lu Yuan's living puppet clone had been by Yanqi's side for a while, knowing that she often used such methods to steal the yang essence of the corpse demon sect's male disciples. Unexpectedly, today the hunter became the prey instead. Let's deal with the main course first, your dessert can wait. Yanqi barely supported her body, glaring at Chen Yang's back, and said with gritted teeth, Chen Yang, you despicable villain, I will never spare you. Haha, don't panic, it'll be your turn later. At this moment, Ting Ting, under the influence of the love powder, had a hazy look in her eyes, and unconsciously moaned from her mouth from time to time. The blood demon controlled her. However, her body was still trying to cling to Chen Yang. This love powder is really overbearing, Yanqi must use it often to have some resistance to stay awake. Chen Yang didn't hesitate too much, and soon the two were entangled together, completing the union. Next, the talent, no leakage reverse absorption activated. As time passed, his strength continued to increase, and the Zongong Cauldron cultivation marvelous technique skillfully transformed the cultivation yin essence passed from Ting Ting during dual cultivation into yang essence for Chen Yang's use. And Ting Ting gradually lost her vitality during dual cultivation, and died within half a day. After separating from the withered body, Chen Yang also took her storage bag. And Yanqi, although still immersed in the love, her body limply leaned against the living puppet, her face already pale with fright as she saw the whole dual cultivation process. Chen Yang walked towards Yanqi, a triumphant smile on his face. Yanqi shrank back in horror, but there was nowhere to retreat. What do you want to do? Chen Yang, what exactly do you want? Yanqi asked coldly, barely supporting her body. Hearing this, Chen Yang turned to look at her, a playful look flashing in his eyes. What do I want? It's very simple, the ghost evil sect is acting recklessly on my corpse demon sect's territory, today I will solve the hidden danger for the sect. As for you. He paused, his tone carrying a hint of sarcasm, just die in a duel. They won't believe it. Yanqi's voice trembled. Who cares if they believe it? Is a dead disciple valuable, or a living one? What do you say? If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. You should have known there would be such an ending when you attacked me. As Chen Yang spoke, he controlled the blood demon in the living puppet to separate Yanqi. And he stepped in, his talent activated again. This Yanqi's cultivation was not high, and she was sucked dry in a short while. Weird blessed land. After Chen Yang returned in a sorry state, Lu Yuan looked calm and immediately performed a soul division, zeroing on Chen Yang. This time, Chen Yang was seemingly plotted against by Yanqi and almost fell into the trap of the love powder, but in fact, everything was under Lu Yuan's control. The living puppet had been by Yanqi's side for a long time, knowing her every move like the back of his hand. Yanqi's love powder hidden in her sleeve naturally couldn't escape Lu Yuan's eyes and ears. The reason why Lu Yuan let Chen Yang's clone attack Ting Ting was to obtain the cultivation yin essence within the body of this true disciple of the ghost evil sect, Ting Ting. He also wanted to see if Chen Yang's talent, no leakage reverse absorption, could work in a frenzied state. Lu Yuan picked up the storage bag that Chen Yang had snatched, his eyes slightly condensed, and found that it was covered with complex restrictions. He snorted coldly, manipulated a clone, and began to try to unlock these restrictions. The process of unlocking the restrictions was full of uncertainty, completely relying on luck to explore the key nodes hidden in the restrictions, requiring a lot of time and energy, but for Lu Yuan, who had clones, time was not a precious resource. As for the task that the corpse demon sect gave to Chen Yang to rely on those evil ghosts and spirits has been completed, but there is no hurry to let Chen Yang return to the corpse demon sect, to see the sect's recent intelligence in the next few days. A few days later, under the unremitting efforts of Lu Yuan's clone, the restrictions on the storage bag were finally unlocked. The restrictions on this storage bag were not particularly complex, but they were quite ingenious. If Lu Yuan hadn't been experienced and had a clone to help, it would have been really difficult to crack it in such a short time. Opening the storage bag, the scene inside made Chen Yang and Lu Yuan's eyes light up. A large number of Zon crystals shimmering with faint light were neatly arranged, emitting a strong Zon power fluctuation. A full 50,000 Zon crystals. But unfortunately, there was no method for refining the evil ghost Dao soldiers. In addition, there was also a secret letter, which had already been opened. Lu Yuan picked up the secret letter, carefully examined it, and found that it was actually a letter from a true disciple of the heavenly demon sect to Ting Ting. The handwriting on the letter was neat, revealing a sharp aura. Ting my dear, the great cause of our sect is at hand, and the grand aspiration of unifying the Western Chu demonic path is just around the corner. Nowadays, although the various demon sects are calm on the surface, undercurrents are surging, and all have the heart to compete. If our sect wants to achieve hegemony, we need to recruit talents and expand our forces. You must wave the flag for my heavenly demon sect in the ghost evil sect. Also, the corpse demon sect has developed rapidly in recent years, and its foundation should not be underestimated. Especially the mortal towns are becoming more and more prosperous, which has hindered the layout of our sect. You can go to the mortal land of the corpse ghost sect to refine evil ghost Dao soldiers. If there are any accidents, and you encounter difficulties from the corpse demon sect, my heavenly demon sect will definitely stand up for you. Quote. Your beloved Chu Hen. Next were some flirtatious words, saying how much he missed Ting Ting. After reading the secret letter, Lu Yuan had a plan in his mind. I wonder if this true disciple of the heavenly demon sect, Chu Hen, will chase and kill him when he learns that his sweetheart has been dual cultivated by Chen Yang's clone. Lu Yuan packed up the items in the storage bag, preparing to let Chen Yang return to the sect. Corpse demon sect, Joy Union Hall. Chen Yang had just returned and had not yet had time to rest when he received an order from the hall master of the Joy Union Hall to summon him. Stepping into the Joy Union Hall, Chen Yang felt a solemn and majestic aura. Several elders were sitting solemnly on both sides, and on the main seat at the top sat the hall master of the Joy Union Hall, who exuded an invisible pressure. An elder spoke first, his voice low and majestic. Chen Yang, judging from the evil ghosts and spirits you handed in, this mission is very unusual. You should tell us the whole story in detail. Chen Yang took a deep breath, calmed his mind, clasped his fists and saluted, and said with a solemn expression, this disciple was ordered to go to the mortal town to investigate the cause of the city's destruction, but was secretly plotted against and framed by fellow disciple Yan Qi. Chapter 49 Breakthrough. Inside the Hall of Joyful Union. The walls and ceiling were inlaid with exquisite golden patterns, shimmering with dazzling light and filled with a faint fragrance, yet the atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. Chen Yang's words caused the expressions of the elders to subtly change, their faces revealing surprise. Chen Yang continued, at that time, I encountered Ting Ting, a true disciple of the Ghost Fiend sect, the mastermind behind the scenes, on a narrow path. She was surrounded by evil spirits, and those evil ghosts wearing dark green robes constantly attacked me. I was in a desperate situation, with only a slim chance of survival. But relying on the unity of man and sword with the sword of extinction, I fought desperately and barely managed to withstand their offensive. The unity of man and sword with the sword of extinction. An elder stood up abruptly, his eyes filled with shock. Is what you say true? Elder, please see. Chen Yang did not dare to be negligent and immediately circulated his spiritual power, displaying the unity of man and sword with the sword of extinction. He merged his body with the sword, transforming into a sharp sword shadow, swirling in the hall with whistling sword winds and astonishing momentum. Many elders showed amazement upon seeing this, and one elder couldn't help but mutter to himself, this child is gifted with extraordinary talent and is truly a sword genius. He will surely shine brightly in the way of the sword in the future. However, there was still one elder who frowned, a hint of suspicion in his eyes, and asked, "You keep saying that Yan Qi framed you, but do you have any evidence to prove it?" Chen Yang smiled slightly, confidently saying, "No evidence is needed. Yan Qi wanted to reap the benefits of others' efforts, but she has already been killed by Ting Ting. This disciple also obtained a secret letter from Ting Ting, which should explain some issues." Having said that, Chen Yang solemnly presented the secret letter. An elder took the letter and respectfully handed it to the hall master. The hall master took the secret letter and read it carefully, his expression gradually becoming solemn. He exchanged a glance with the elders beside him, and they both saw a hint of worry and excitement in each other's eyes. The hall master put down the secret letter, his gaze falling on Chen Yang, with a hint of appreciation in his eyes, and slowly said, "Chen Yang, from today onwards, you will be a true disciple of the Blood Fiend Peak of my Corpse Demon sect. As a true disciple, I bestow upon you a palace repairing pill to help you improve your cultivation, 3,000 units of Zon crystals as cultivation resources, and a Zon skill and technique inherited from the Blood Fiend Peak. I hope you will cultivate well in the future and serve the sect." Chen Yang was overjoyed and extremely excited, and he quickly knelt down to express his gratitude. "This disciple thanks the hall master for his cultivation and will certainly live up to your expectations." Chen Yang stood up and took out his original inner disciple silver badge, handing it over. The hall master reached out and took the silver badge, performing a secret technique. The silver badge flashed with light and instantly turned into a golden badge. "I will report this matter to the sect master of the Corpse Lord Hall. In half a month, we will hold a true disciple ceremony for you," the hall master said. "This disciple thanks you again," Chen Yang said gratefully. Afterwards, Chen Yang took his leave. After leaving the Hall of Joyful Union, Chen Yang looked at the golden badge in his hand and sneered inwardly, knowing that a storm was brewing. North Refining Hall. The boiling blood pool exuded a palpitating aura, and a faint blood mist permeated above the blood pool, with faint, strange sounds. The elder guarding this place scrutinized Chu Jing and asked, "Chu Jing, you have only just become a true disciple, yet you want to spend 5,000 Zon crystals to have this living puppet enter the palace repairing realm corpse refining platform. This is not a small amount, and it concerns your future cultivation. This disciple is certain." Chu Jing's eyes were firm. The guarding elder frowned slightly and slowly said, "Whether this living puppet can successfully advance depends entirely on luck. Once it fails, these 5,000 Zon crystals will be completely wasted, and it has nothing to do with the sect. Have you thought about this carefully?" Chu Jing bit her lip and said, "I have made up my mind, elder, there is no need to persuade me further." The guarding elder helplessly shook his head and sighed softly, then directed his subordinates to carefully place the living puppet into the blood pool with rolling blood waves. As soon as the living puppet came into contact with the blood pool, the blood in the pool violently churned, making a sizzling sound, as if devouring the living puppet's power. "All right, this is a special refinement for advancing to the palace repairing realm. It needs to be refined with Zon techniques for 10 days before being taken out of the blood pool. You may withdraw for now." The guarding elder looked at the blood pool, then at Chu Jing, and slowly said. Chu Jing nodded, a hint of reluctance and worry in her eyes. She knew that for the living puppet, it would be a test of life and death. "Seer Lu, you must persevere," Chu Jing murmured to herself, then reluctantly turned back every few steps, leaving with reluctance. Watching Chu Jing's departing figure, the guarding elder shook his head slightly, muttering in a low voice, "Alas, another disciple who has developed deep feelings for a living puppet. On this cruel path of cultivation, how can one achieve great things by being so sentimental?" In the Corpse Demon sect, the situation of female cultivators has always been difficult. They struggle in this cruel environment, experiencing countless hardships, and many become scarred and worn down by the erosion of time, becoming faded flowers and willows. Over time, some female cultivators no longer trust men. Instead, in solitude and helplessness, they gradually develop a dependence on the same sex or living puppet Dao soldiers. Chu Jing, who had just been listed as a true disciple, seemed to have fallen into such feelings. Who would have thought that a sinister and cunning demonic woman would develop feelings for a living dead person? However, this is still very common in the Corpse Demon sect. Weird blessed land. Lu Yuan held a pill emitting a faint light in his hand, which was the precious palace repairing pill. He frowned slightly, a hint of hesitation in his eyes. As a Zon cultivator, he knew the scarcity of the palace repairing pill, but this was a pill bestowed by the Corpse Demon sect, and there might be some unknown hidden dangers, so he dared not use it at all. Looking at the Chen Yang clone who was diligently cultivating nearby, he thought to himself, it's better to let the Chen Yang clone use it. Having made up his mind, Yuan handed the palace repairing pill to the Chen Yang clone. The Chen Yang clone took the pill and put it directly into his mouth without the slightest hesitation. The pill melted upon entering his mouth, and a vast medicinal power instantly spread throughout his body, like a surging torrent impacting his meridians. The Chen Yang clone only felt hot all over, and the Zon power in his body began to surge frantically. He gritted his teeth and fully circulated the techniques in his body, guiding the medicinal power to gather towards his dantian. As the medicinal power continued to condense, a slight change began to appear in the dantian. Slowly, a vague palace prototype gradually appeared. The palace repairing realm is to build a palace in the dantian that can replenish the leaking qi, which is divided into 3 states: perfect, flawless, and dilapidated. With the Chen Yang clone's inferior aptitude, he could only build a dilapidated palace repairing. However, Yuan didn't care. He had a large number of clones. For him, aptitude was not the deciding factor. As long as there were enough opportunities and resources, he could continuously improve his strength. During the process of breaking through and building the palace, Yuan's consciousness instantly descended on the Chen Yang clone, carefully feeling the process of breaking through to the palace repairing realm. Chapter 50 Ji Yuxuan Summoning. Blood Demon Peak was perpetually shrouded in a thick, bloody mist, resembling a colossal asura field from afar, emanating an aura that made hearts palpitate. Upon the mountain peak stood a heritage grotto, a forbidden zone of the sect, guarded by Dao soldiers of the Spirit Palace realm, accessible only to true disciples. Chen Yang, bearing his identity token, stepped into the grotto, a pungent, bloody stench assaulting his nostrils, as if capable of piercing the nasal cavity. The surrounding walls were covered with various, twisted, and bizarre mysterious runes, shimmering with faint light in the dim illumination. The power emanating from the runes seemed to possess life, gently touching the divine souls of every entrant. He slowly walked into the depths of the grotto. Here, there were no jade scrolls or similar mediums of inheritance, but a more direct and powerful method of imparting knowledge. As he approached the core of the inheritance, an invisible force instantly enveloped him, surging into his body like a tide. Chen Yang felt as if he had entered a magical world, filled with countless profound arts and techniques, and as time passed, images emerged in his mind, revealing the cultivation methods for the blood demon mystical art and the blood mist transformation technique. After an unknown duration, Chen Yang finally completed the inheritance. He slowly opened his eyes, a sharp glint flashing within. Now, having obtained the blood demon mystical art and the blood mist transformation technique, his strength would undoubtedly increase greatly after cultivation. At the same time, he also learned from the inheritance records the solution to the hidden dangers of demonic cultivation. It turned out that to truly resolve the hidden dangers brought about by demonic cultivation, one must reach the Ningji realm and go to the profound Nether Holy Land to receive baptism, only then could one gain freedom. This was roughly the same as Yuan's previous deduction. Chen Yang thought to himself, it seems that his path of cultivation is still very long. After completing the inheritance, Chen Yang turned to leave. Just as he reached the grotto's exit, he encountered several inner-sect female disciples. Dressed in gorgeous attire and exuding arrogance, it was clear they were from Smiling Spring Hall, and obviously sent by Ji Yuxuan. The leading female disciple, tall and with a beautiful face, was full of contempt for Chen Yang. A true disciple, come with us, senior sister Ji wants to see you. Chen Yang's expression was calm, a hint of faint majesty revealed in his eyes. Who do you think you are? I am now a true disciple, you had better show some respect. That female disciple sneered, a hint of mockery flashing in her eyes. HMPH, there are also distinctions among true disciples. Senior Sister Ji, as the chief true disciple of the Joyful Union Hall, her status is much higher than yours, an ordinary true disciple. Don't think that just because you've become a true disciple, you can be so rude to us. Chen Yang frowned slightly, I don't care about status. All I know is that since I have obtained the inheritance, I must focus on the Tao. Even if Senior Sister Ji has something to say, it will have to wait until I am free. The leading female disciple's face instantly turned ashen, the anger in her eyes no longer able to be concealed. However, after a moment, Ji Yuxuan narrowed her eyes slightly, a trace of contemplation flashing within. As the chief true disciple of the Joyful Union Hall, she naturally had her own considerations. Forget it, since he won't come, then I will take the initiative to meet him. Meanwhile, at the foot of Blood Demon Peak, Chen Yang saw a disciple with a kind face and a portly figure walking towards him, the golden token at his waist dazzling. His heart tightened, knowing that anyone wearing a golden token must be a true disciple. The two looked at each other and bowed in greeting at the same time. Chen Yang spoke first. This true disciple brother does not seem to be a disciple of my blood demon peak. That disciple laughed heartily, his voice loud and clear. Junior brother has good eyes. I am Qian Cha, a true disciple of Corpse Sever Peak, and I have come to see you today. Chen Yang's expression remained unchanged. Junior brother is new to the true disciple ranks, an unknown figure. I wonder why senior brother is paying attention. Qian Cha squinted and smiled. I heard that junior brother revealed the news of the anomalous Dao fruit to Ji Yuxuan. Commendable courage, so I came to meet you. Chen Yang asked vigilantly, what is senior brother's intention in coming here? Qian Cha waved his hand, his smile gentle. Junior brother, don't be nervous, I have no malice, just curiosity. The anomalous Dao fruit involves a wide range of issues and complex forces behind it. How did junior brother find out? Chen Yang knew that Qian Cha was an informant planted by the righteous path, but he did not expose it for the time being, and snorted coldly. I have my own informants in the Star Sword sect, such news is not surprising. Qian Cha nodded, his eyes deep. Junior brother is indeed extraordinary, becoming a true disciple after only 3 years of entry, admirable. Chen Yang frowned, is senior brother investigating me? Qian Cha smiled, just asking casually. However, junior brother needs to be careful of Ji Yuxuan, she is meticulous and ruthless, you must be more cautious in your actions. Chen Yang was vigilant in his heart and did not say much more. Qian Cha said meaningfully, I hope that the next time we meet, junior brother will still be carefree. Having said that, the portly figure disappeared into the mountains. This interlude did not affect Chen Yang's mood. He saw that it was still early, so he went straight to the Smiling Spring Hall in the outer market of the Corpse Demon sect. Inside the Smiling Spring Hall, the female cultivators were dressed scantily, smiling and talking, the air filled with the fragrance of rouge and powder. Chen Yang swaggered in and waved his hand heroically, bring 3. This master is happy today. The steward in the hall immediately smiled when he saw that it was Chen Yang, so it's senior brother Chen Yang. Quickly arrange for a few fairies to come and serve. Chen Yang laughed secretly in his heart, although he had already fallen out with Ji Yuxuan. The news should not have reached the Smiling Spring Hall yet, so why not take this opportunity to take advantage of it? Soon, 3 enchanting and beautiful female cultivators walked gracefully, holding Chen Yang's arms on either side, while another led the way with a charming smile, taking him into the pavilion. Inside the pavilion, the candlelight flickered, and the fragrance lingered. The 3 female cultivators each displayed their talents, some plucking the zither and singing softly, some dancing gracefully, and some nestled beside Chen Yang, smiling charmingly. Chen Yang also enjoyed it, drinking wine while cultivating with them, feeling very comfortable. It was not until late at night that Chen Yang reluctantly left the Smiling Spring Hall, with a bit of drunkenness on his face, but his steps were still steady. He looked up at the sky, a smile on the corner of his mouth, and muttered to himself, I made a good profit today, I wonder if there will be a next time. Returning to his residence, Chen Yang pushed open the door, did not rest, the drunkenness completely faded, and began to cultivate to consume and absorb the yin yuan of his cultivation. Chapter 51, The Madness of the Demonic Witch. Night fell. Crimson mist, thick as congealed blood, rose with the mountain fog, rapidly engulfing every corner of Blood Demon Peak. Within a cave dwelling on one of the suspended islands, a sense of oppressive stillness hung in the air. Perhaps because he had only recently joined, Chen Yang had only gradually come to understand the complex and rigid hierarchy of the Corpse Demon sect after becoming a true disciple. Within the Corpse Demon sect, each hall was presided over by a hall master, but there was also a true disciple serving as an assistant, effectively a deputy hall master, the two mutually checking each other, jointly governing the hall. No wonder Ji Yuxuan wields such power in the Joy Harmony Hall, she's the deputy hall master. However, to become such a true disciple, one must be the chief disciple of their respective peak. Chen Yang stroked his chin, knowing full well that he had thoroughly offended Ji Yuxuan, and thus had to remain vigilant at all times. Now that I'm still a disciple of the Joy Harmony Hall, I should try to cultivate closer ties with the hall master in the future. Chen Yang pondered while cultivating. Since reaching the spirit building realm, the cultivation points from the corpse refining Dao platform were useless to him. Even if he acquired them, they wouldn't increase his cultivation. According to Lu Yuan's deduction, he now needed spirit building realm cultivation points. Faint, Crimson moonlight, like a veil, slanted through the skylight into the cave dwelling, softly illuminating the ground, adding a touch of cold tranquility to the silent space. Mysterious energy slowly emanated from the mystic crystals, swirling around, calming the mind. However, this tranquility was instantly shattered. A dark figure, like a specter, silently appeared within Chen Yang's cave dwelling. Chen Yang reacted swiftly, instantly drawing his dark sword, his gaze as sharp as an eagle's as he fixed his eyes on the intruder, only to find that it was the alluringly beautiful yet dangerous Ji Yuxuan. Prepare to die. Ji Yuxuan's eyes widened in fury, and with a delicate shout, her figure moved like lightning, her fingers joined together like a sharp blade, aiming straight for Chen Yang's vital point on his neck. Chen Yang felt an immense pressure surge toward him, and in an instant, he was subdued by Ji Yuxuan. He dared not move in the slightest, his heart filled with dread, Ji Yuxuan's strength far exceeding his imagination, at least at the mid-stage of the spirit-building realm. "Senior sister, aren't you afraid of the sect's punishment for acting like this?" Chen Yang asked, feigning composure, though a hint of nervousness was still evident in his voice. Ji Yuxuan sneered, her eyes full of disdain. "Punishment? Do you think the sect cares about the life and death of a mere early-stage spirit-building realm disciple? In this corpse demon sect, it's the survival of the fittest, the lives of the weak are as worthless as ants." Chen Yang, of course, knew that what Ji Yuxuan said was true, and unwillingly asked, "Senior sister, why must you kill me?" A flash of ruthlessness crossed Ji Yuxuan's eyes, a twisted smile appearing on her face. "I originally handpicked you, merely nurturing you as a cauldron. How dare you disobey my orders and insist on becoming a true disciple? That is a capital offense." Chen Yang's heart trembled, a look of panic appearing on his face as he quickly argued, "Senior sister, even if I become a true disciple, I'm still senior sister's man. HMPH, once disloyal, always disloyal. Since you've betrayed me, don't blame me for being ruthless." Ji Yuxuan's expression was savage, her originally beautiful face now completely distorted. Chen Yang understood that the woman before him had lost her mind, like a mad demon, and he still begged for mercy. "Senior sister, please spare my life. Before you die, let me make use of you one last time." The corners of Ji Yuxuan's mouth curled into an evil smile, and the blood whip in her hand shot out like a viper, instantly wrapping tightly around Chen Yang. Immediately afterward, Ji Yuxuan actually began to tear at Chen Yang's clothes. Chen Yang looked terrified, wanting to resist, but seeming to be suppressed by Ji Yuxuan's powerful strength, unable to move. But in his heart, he complained, "We're all demonic women like this. I thought true disciples would be different." Ji Yuxuan casually grabbed a piece of cloth and stuffed it into Chen Yang's mouth, preventing him from making a sound. "I've long wanted to experience your dual cultivation method. Don't say I didn't give you a chance, it all depends on whether you have the ability to survive." Ji Yuxuan's face was filled with madness, her eyes staring at Chen Yang like those of a hungry wolf. After a long while, accompanied by the final step, Ji Yuxuan let out a cry of pleasure, signifying that dual cultivation could begin. Immediately afterward, she began to circulate her cultivation technique, and a strange power began to surge within Chen Yang's body. This was completely different from Chen Yang's previous experiences. Ji Yuxuan's technique seemed to have a special ability, allowing her to absorb talent instead of letting it leak, and the yang essence that had been firmly locked was showing signs of loosening. "Oh, you do have some ability, no wonder you've won every battle. However, today, I'll let you witness the power of my joy harmony technique." Spring Breeze smile. A hint of triumph flashed in Ji Yuxuan's eyes as she chanted. Chen Yang felt the movement of the yang essence within his body, and his heart was greatly alarmed, knowing that he could no longer allow Ji Yuxuan to manipulate him. He forcibly calmed himself, concentrated all his spirit, and tried to activate the special talent inherent in this body. However, the talent of not leaking and absorbing seemed to sense the threat, and in an instant, it stopped the pulsation of the yang essence within Chen Yang's body. Immediately afterward, a powerful suction force erupted from Chen Yang's body, beginning to frantically absorb Ji Yuxuan's yin essence and cultivation. "This is impossible. How could this be?" Ji Yuxuan felt the rapid loss of yin essence and cultivation within her body, her face revealing an expression of disbelief, her eyes filled with horror. But she was, after all, extraordinary in strength, and quickly calmed down. After pondering for a moment, she cast another mystic art. Immediately, the superior yang essence that Chen Yang had cultivated with the cauldron cultivation wonderful art was once again activated. This was the restraint between mystic techniques. Even if Chen Yang possessed the talent of not leaking and absorbing to lock it down, He now felt that the yang essence within his body was like a volcano about to erupt, with a feeling of imminent eruption. In this critical moment, Chen Yang had no choice but to transform the yang essence into a blade, using the introductory one yang blade. At the same time, he frantically circulated the Naxiu art, trying to consume the cultivation and yin essence absorbed from Ji Yuxuan. Seeing that Chen Yang was so difficult to deal with, and that all the dual cultivation mystic techniques and various methods she used could not subdue him, Ji Yuxuan was extremely angry. Helpless, she had no choice but to separate from Chen Yang. She looked at Chen Yang, who was bound on the ground, her eyes narrowed, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in her eyes as she silently recited a spell, controlling the blood whip to tighten continuously, obviously intending to kill Chen Yang to eliminate future troubles. Demonic women really don't keep their word, didn't you say you wanted to see my skills? Chen Yang was shocked. Just then, a cloud of blood mist, like a black curtain, suddenly appeared, tightly enveloping Ji Yuxuan. This is your blood demon Dao soldier. Ji Yuxuan's voice came from the blood mist, her tone carrying a hint of disdain. In fact, many people in the sect had heard that Chen Yang possessed a spirit-building realm blood demon Dao soldier. This blood demon Dao soldier was usually placed by Lu Yuan in the Weird Blessed Land. Lu Yuan, seeing that Chen Yang was at a disadvantage and in a critical situation from afar, had no choice but to open the teleportation function of the Weird Blessed Land and throw out the blood demon clone. The blood demon Dao soldier, like a ferocious beast, instantly pounced on Ji Yuxuan, entangling with her. At the same time, Chen Yang's body suddenly emitted a dense black mist, his whole person seeming to fall into a state of madness. He violently broke free from the shackles of the blood whip, and attacked Ji Yuxuan. Both of them were in the spirit-building realm, especially Chen Yang in his current state of madness, his strength vaguely exceeding the third level of the spirit-building realm, and for a time, he actually successfully suppressed Ji Yuxuan. How could he be so strong? Is he in a frenzy? No, why is he so rational, and can still attack with a plan? Ji Yuxuan noticed Chen Yang's strangeness, and her heart was greatly alarmed, and she immediately wanted to turn around and flee. However, she did not notice that the blood demon had suddenly transformed into a dense mist, tightly entangling her like a ghost, preventing her from escaping. Chen Yang seized the opportunity and immediately launched a counterattack, waving the dark sword in his hand, and a move of annihilation righteousness sword stabbed out like lightning, aiming straight for Ji Yuxuan's vital point. Suddenly, a powerful and terrifying force suddenly came like a hurricane, instantly shaking away Chen Yang and the blood demon. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 52, Imprisonment. As the blood mist dissipated, the blood demon Peak Master and the joyous Union Hall Master appeared with gloomy expressions. What kind of behavior is this, you two fighting here? The joyous Union Hall Master frowned and reprimanded. Seeing this, Ji Yuxuan immediately put on a weak and pitiful appearance, her eyes reddened and filled with tears as she cried, Hall Master, this child has already gone mad, defying his superiors and attempting to harm me. Chen Yang was emitting a dense black mist, his face full of madness and unwillingness. Just as he was about to open his mouth to defend himself, the blood demon Peak Master waved his hand, and an invisible force swiftly wrapped around the blood demon like a giant python, instantly capturing him. At the same time, Chen Yang was also bound by a powerful and domineering force, rendering him unable to move. The black mist around him does indeed suggest madness. However, Ji, true disciple, why are you here? The joyous Union Hall Master stared sharply at Ji Yuxuan, questioning her with suspicion. Ji Yuxuan's heart tightened, but she maintained a pitiful look on her face, quickly explaining, I came to congratulate Chen Yang on becoming a true disciple, but he suddenly attacked me. The blood demon Peak Master looked at the bound Chen Yang and said coldly, first, check if he's truly gone mad. The joyous Union Hall Master stepped forward, forming hand seals, and a gentle light enveloped Chen Yang. After a moment, his brow furrowed, the aura within his body is chaotic, indeed showing signs of madness, but he seems to retain some rationality. How is that possible? Generally, those who go mad completely lose their rationality, the blood demon Peak Master said with a puzzled expression. There are people who can maintain rationality in madness, and without exception, they all possess a physique suitable for cultivating demonic arts, the joyous Union Hall Master pondered. Hearing their conversation, Ji Yuxuan felt a little flustered, but she still pretended to be calm. Regardless, the fact that he attacked me is true, and he must be severely punished. The blood demon Peak Master snorted coldly, HMPH, no matter what, before the investigation is clear, he will be locked up in the prison first. Once the truth is revealed, a fair judgment will be made. Two figures quickly appeared and escorted Chen Yang into the corpse demon sect's prison. The news of the true disciples' brawl spread rapidly within the corpse demon sect like wildfire. Disciples gathered in small groups, discussing it animatedly. Did you hear? Chen Yang and true disciple Ji Yuxuan fought, and now Chen Yang has been imprisoned. Really? Didn't Chen Yang just become a true disciple? How did he get into a conflict with true disciple Ji? I heard that Chen Yang went mad and wanted to harm true disciple Ji. However, some people say that true disciple Ji's words are not credible, and she might be deliberately framing Chen Yang. As time passed, more and more rumors about Chen Yang spread. Some said he was an ignorant and arrogant fool who rashly provoked Ji Yuxuan. Others said he was a strong man with strength and integrity, who dared to resist Ji Yuxuan's oppression. Because of his fight with Ji Yuxuan, many versions of the story emerged. In some versions, Chen Yang even earned the title of Demoness Slayer, implying that he dared to confront a demoness like Ji Yuxuan. The prison was dark and damp, filled with a nauseating stench of decay, like a bottomless abyss that could swallow hope. The prison was built from cold abyss iron and engraved with runes, specifically used to imprison profound cultivators below the core formation realm. At this time, it was Lu Yuan's consciousness that had descended into Chen Yang's body, while Chen Yang's divided soul was still in a state of madness. In this prison, many profound cultivators were imprisoned, some together and some separately. Naturally, those like Chen Yang, who were in a state of madness, were separated. Chen Yang disappeared into a corner, of course, returning to the strange blessed land after performing the reset operation. After thinking it over, Lu Yuan decided to let Chen Yang return to the prison. After all, the identity of a true disciple was hard-earned and should not be easily abandoned. After Chen Yang returned, he quickly returned to his normal state, completely disregarding the harsh environment of the prison and began to cultivate cross-legged. An old profound cultivator in the neighboring cell saw that the black mist symbolizing madness had dissipated and couldn't help but blurt out, "Impossible, how can someone control madness?" In the corpse demon sect, profound cultivator madness was a relatively common phenomenon. However, once someone fell into madness, the black mist usually only dissipated after death. The old profound cultivator stared curiously at Chen Yang and asked, "Boy, what kind of profound art or technique have you cultivated that you can suppress madness?" Chen Yang glanced at him and ignored him, continuing to focus on his own cultivation. The old profound cultivator refused to give up. He leaned closer to the bars and said, "I've been in this prison for many years and have seen all kinds of madmen, but I've never seen a situation like yours. What exactly have you cultivated? Tell me quickly." Seeing that Chen Yang remained silent, the old profound cultivator stroked his beard and muttered to himself, "Seeing the sharpness of your aura, like an unsheathed sword, exuding a sense of ruthlessness, could it be that you are cultivating the merciless sword?" Chen Yang's heart jolted, but he still maintained a calm expression on his face and did not respond. However, the old profound cultivator keenly caught his subtle change, a hint of smugness flashing in his eyes. He continued, "What a pity, the merciless sword is just the lower half of the profound technique. If you want to truly unleash the power of this sword technique, you must learn the crucial upper half." Chen Yang, who had been unmoved, couldn't help but feel a hint of interest and asked, "Where is the upper half of the technique?" But at this moment, the old profound cultivator imitated Chen Yang's previous behavior, closed his mouth, and ignored him. Just then, heavy footsteps came from outside the prison, and a disciple guarding the prison shouted loudly, "The sect leader's envoy has come to check on the condition of the madman." The corpse demon sect still valued its true disciples to a certain extent. The sect leader's envoy came to Chen Yang's cell, observed him carefully, and muttered to himself, "There's clearly no sign of madness anymore." Seeing this, Chen Yang quickly said, "Envoy, please let me out. I can explain the situation to the sect leader and the peak master." The sect leader's envoy shook his head and said, "I can't make that decision. You wait here, and I'll report to my superiors." With that, he turned and left. Chen Yang asked the old man again, but the old man still ignored him. Helpless, he had no choice but to continue cultivating. In the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan had been relying on his own efforts to cultivate the Star Sword Sect Star Severing Sword Profound technique, but this technique was extremely difficult to cultivate. Just as he was immersed in cultivation, a message suddenly came to his mind. Open black lens bracket acquired a Palace Completion Realm cultivation point. Would you like to use it? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket note. Palace Completion Realm cultivation points can only be absorbed upon reaching the Palace Completion Realm. It can be converted into core gathering realm cultivation points. Would you like to convert it? Close black lens bracket. Lu Yuan instantly reacted. It turned out that the 10-day period had passed, and the living puppet seer Lu had successfully entered the corpse refinement Dao platform. He nodded slightly, thinking to himself, indeed, the cultivation points of the palace completion realm are different from before. I should give these cultivation points to Chen Yang's clone. He absorbed some of Ji Yuxuan's yin energy before, so I can take this opportunity to improve his cultivation. This corpse refinement Dao platform is truly a rare and valuable thing. However, creating such a Dao platform is easier said than done. Do not convert, provide the cultivation points to Chen Yang's clone. Improving Chen Yang's cultivation is the top priority now. Lu Yuan had planted a large number of clones in the corpse demon sect, reaching more than 300. Among them, 200 clones were in the corpse refinement Dao platform, while the remaining clones had either become outer sect disciples of the corpse demon sect, inner sect disciples, or had successfully transformed into Dao soldiers. Chapter 53 Yi. These clones are all under the unified control of the central clone, forming a close-knit information network between them. Relying on these clones, Lu Yuan has a deep understanding of the various situations of the corpse demon sect, especially those inheritances hidden by the sect, which he has inquired about. Among these inheritances, the path of corpse refinement is the most crucial part, and the difficulty of refining a corpse refinement platform is beyond imagination. The most crucial material is a profound treasure capable of bearing the Dao Covenant, which are the mysterious black iron pillars around the corpse refinement platform. These black iron pillars are not only made of special materials, but also extremely difficult to obtain, each one being worth a fortune. However, it's not all bad news. Lu Yuan's lips curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. The clone in Yaohua Valley seems to have discovered a very interesting Dao soldier, and is looking for an opportunity to try to obtain it. If successful, it might increase my resource income significantly. As the absolute controller behind more than 500 clones, Lu Yuan has extensive layouts and deep penetration among the various sects. Relying on these clones, he can obtain a large amount of resources, intelligence, and opportunities. Unfortunately, the amount of destiny obtained is getting less and less than 100 points per day now. Now that the blood demon Dao soldier has entered the palace supplementing realm, it must absorb a clone's blood essence every day, and it must be a clone at the 9th level of the gathering profound realm, and refining one requires 45 points of destiny. Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. When his realm is raised to the 7th level of the gathering profound realm, he can refine clones at the 7th level of the gathering profound realm. The destiny spent on refining clones naturally varies depending on the realm. For the gathering profound realm, the minimum is 5 points, and the cost increases by 5 points for each level. In fact, from a long-term perspective, it is more cost-effective to cultivate a clone from the 1st level to the 9th level of the gathering profound realm using cultivation points. However, this cultivation method takes an extremely long time, and in the current situation, it is impossible to meet the blood essence needs of the blood demon Dao soldier, and the supply is severely insufficient. Apart from the clones sent out, only 5 or 6 are left in the weird blessed land. After all, too many were blown up before, resulting in a large loss of clones. However, now that the blood demon Dao soldier has been taken away by the peak master of blood demon peak, Lu Yuan's consciousness descended to check. Unexpectedly, the peak master of blood demon peak attaches great importance to this blood demon Dao soldier, serving it quite well, and the blood demon Dao soldier's realm has not fallen. This undoubtedly saves Lu Yuan a lot of destiny, avoiding the trouble of having to reconsume destiny to raise the realm due to the drop in realm. Of course, the intentions of the peak master of blood demon peak are easy to guess in the demonic path, nothing more than wanting to take it for himself and secretly devour Chen Yang's Dao soldier. However, for Lu Yuan, this is not a bad thing. After all, relying on the special ability of the weird blessed land, he has absolute control over his clones. Perhaps, he can also take this opportunity to obtain a lot of valuable information from the peak master of blood demon peak. Lu Yuan looked at the information on the iris again. Master of weird blessed land, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1666. Talent, none. Destiny can be consumed and shared with clones. Realm, 8th level of gathering profound realm 1212,800 can absorb clone cultivation to improve. Root bone, inferior grade. Destiny can be consumed to obtain from clones. Cultivation method, body forging art. Destiny can be consumed to obtain from clones. Spell, Star-slaying sort destiny can be consumed and shared with clones. Early stage gathering profound realm clones, 223. Mid-stage gathering profound realm clones, 152. Late stage gathering profound realm clones, 86. Perfect stage gathering profound realm clones, 2. Early stage palace supplementing realm clones, Chenyang 1 supplement 3 100ths blood demon 1 supplement 10 100ths. Destiny, 436 points. Without war, the destiny that clones can earn on weekdays is really too little. At the current rate, it will take another 40 days to enter the 9th level of the gathering profound realm, and it will take 3 months to reach the perfect realm. Sure enough, step-by-step cultivation, even with the cheat of the weird blessed land, is still very slow. It's no wonder the demonic path is prosperous, those unscrupulous cultivators do improve their realm very quickly. Lu Yuan sighed with emotion. In fact, he has stopped using cultivation points to improve his realm for more than half a year, otherwise he would have broken through long ago. Fortunately, he absorbed a large amount of cultivation points through the corpse refinement platform before, otherwise, at the current rate of destiny acquisition, he really couldn't afford this huge consuming blood demon Dao soldier. News from Yaohua Valley, the clone has become an inner disciple. Lu Yuan was overjoyed, and his consciousness immediately descended on the clone thousands of miles away. In Yaohua Valley, medicine fields are scattered like stars, and various medicinal herbs bloom like brocade, gently swaying in the breeze. The surrounding vegetation is lush and verdant, full of vitality everywhere. Clear turquoise springs meander around the path, gurgling, and the air is filled with a strong medicinal fragrance, overflowing in all directions, showing the prosperity of the righteous sect. Before a medicine hall with antique and elegant decoration, a solemn promotion ceremony is being held. A group of disciples are arranged neatly, their eyes full of expectation and tension. Yi, you have performed excellently in the past year. After sect investigation, you are now officially promoted to an inner disciple, this is the decree. A Zan cultivator with a celestial demeanor and extraordinary temperament looked at Yi with gentle eyes and slowly read. Yi's face was firm, and his eyes showed a hint of honesty. He quickly and respectfully took the decree and said loudly, "Thank you for the sect's cultivation, thank you Elder Bai. This is what you deserve. This jade pendant is proof of your inner disciple status. With it, you can go to the scripture pavilion to choose a Zan technique and a Zan art. I hope you will practice diligently in the future and add glory to the sect." Elder Bai nodded slightly and said earnestly, "Disciple will remember Elder's teachings." Yi replied solemnly, and then stepped back. However, Yi did not rush to the scripture pavilion to choose spells, but turned around and returned to the alchemy hall where he usually worked, and began his day's work. A middle-aged cultivator with slightly yellowish skin and a kind face saw Yi and couldn't help but smile. "Little Yi, now that you have become an inner disciple, why are you still working so hard?" Yi smiled shyly and replied seriously, "Senior brother, in my opinion, becoming an inner disciple is still being a disciple of the sect. It is my duty to do my job well." The middle-aged cultivator couldn't help but tease, you are just too honest. Look, you are still doing the work of an outer disciple now." Yi scratched his head and smiled honestly, haha, now that senior brother says it, it seems to be true. By the way, senior brother, as a Upper Valley Dao soldier, I have always been curious, are you considered an inner disciple or an outer disciple? At this time, a gleam of agility flashed in Yi's eyes. The middle-aged cultivator smiled and scolded, "You brat, who knows what you are planning in your heart? I am naturally an outer disciple, but my status is equivalent to that of an inner disciple." Yi's eyes showed admiration and said, "Then senior brother's strength must be extraordinary, otherwise you wouldn't have such treatment." The middle-aged cultivator waved his hand and smiled, "What strength or no strength, the main thing is that I refine medicine quickly. Okay, you brat, stop being glib, go to the scripture pavilion to receive your spells, I'll take care of things here." "Okay, thank you, senior brother." Yi was busy for a while before turning around and heading to the scripture pavilion. Chapter 54, Soul Shaping. Before the scripture pavilion of Medicine Blossom Valley, the elder guarding the pavilion's eyes were as sharp as a hawk's, subtly scanning Yi, who had hurriedly arrived. Yi nodded slightly and respectfully handed over the warm jade token. The elder took the jade token, his gaze lingering on it for a moment, carefully identifying it before nodding slightly and gesturing for Yi to enter the scripture pavilion. Stepping into the scripture pavilion, a scent mixing the musty odor of ancient paper and the faint fragrance of ink, like an invisible force, enveloped Yi. The aura seemed to carry the vicissitudes of time, making one feel as if they were in the long river of time, everything around exuding a simple and mysterious charm. Inside the scripture pavilion, rows of tall bookshelves stood like silent guards, filled with a dazzling array of ancient books. Some of these ancient books had yellowed and broken covers, while others emitted a brand new luster, each seemingly telling an unknown story, exuding a mysterious and solemn aura. Yi Yi's eyes scanned back and forth between the bookshelves, a hint of eagerness and focus in his eyes, weaving through the shelves, occasionally stopping to pick up an ancient book, flipping through it, and then gently putting it down, continuing his search. After an unknown amount of time, his gaze suddenly settled on a somewhat dilapidated jade slip, the soul-shaping chapter. A flash of surprise appeared in his eyes, and he quickly reached out to take it down. In addition to the soul-shaping chapter, Yi Yi also carefully selected a flame-controlled dragon. This was a profound technique specializing in long-range attacks, and the art of controlling fire was a unique skill of Medicine Blossom Valley, its power not to be underestimated. It turned out that this Yi Yi was not an ordinary disciple of Medicine Blossom Valley, but one of Lu Yuan's avatars planted in Medicine Blossom Valley. Lu Yuan had long coveted the soul-shaping chapter, a righteous path soul cultivation technique. He knew that this technique had a great effect on enhancing his control over his avatars. If he could use this technique to further strengthen his control over his avatars and increase the number of controllable avatars, then his cultivation speed would also greatly accelerate. After Yi Yi received the jade slip inheritance, he returned to his usual honest appearance and quietly left. In the strange blessed land. Finally got this soul-shaping chapter. Lu Yuan was somewhat excited, mainly because this kind of soul cultivation technique was extremely rare in the cultivation world. Although the surrounding sects also had similar techniques, such as the Corpse Demon sect's mind division technique, the Death Shadow sect's soul severing skill, and the Star Sword sect's battle intent art, in Lu Yuan's view, these techniques were far inferior to the Medicine Blossom Valley's soul-shaping chapter. The soul-shaping chapter not only had significant cultivation effects, but also had no hidden dangers, and could be called the superior work among soul cultivation techniques. Lu Yuan couldn't wait to sit cross-legged and began to cultivate the soul-shaping chapter. Because he had a powerful soul forged from controlling 3 avatars, his cultivation was much smoother than ordinary people. Lu Yuan could clearly feel the soul in his mind, like a trickle converging into a river, which meant that the power of the soul was gradually growing. However, as the cultivation deepened, Lu Yuan also encountered some difficulties. A wisp of distracting thoughts was like a wild horse that was difficult to tame. Lu Yuan gritted his teeth, focused his mind, and tried to guide this force, making it run according to the route of the technique. After an unknown amount of time, he finally successfully tamed this distracting thought and concentrated on operating the soul-shaping chapter. After days and nights of arduous cultivation, Lu Yuan finally reached the entry level of the soul-shaping chapter. At this time, he clearly felt that his soul had become stronger and his thinking was more Minrui. He couldn't wait to try to control his avatars and was pleasantly surprised to find that he could control 4 avatars at the same time. Lu Yuan secretly calculated in his mind that he could only control 3 avatars before, earning 30 cultivation points per day. Now that he could control 4 avatars, it meant that he could earn 40 cultivation points per day. This was undoubtedly a huge leap for his cultivation improvement. This soul-shaping chapter has such significant effects just at the entry level. If I can reach the realm of unity between man and technique, I might be able to control dozens of avatars. By then, my cultivation speed will surely increase by leaps and bounds. The more Lu Yuan thought about it, the more excited he became, but he also understood that this was not an easy task. This was a righteous path technique that could only be cultivated step by step, unlike the extinction of righteousness sword, which could be improved by losing one's own righteousness. There were no shortcuts in righteous path techniques. Corpse Demon sect, in a gloomy and dark prison. Chen Yang had been sitting by the cold stone wall, cultivating. A slight movement came from the adjacent prison cell, and an old and hoarse voice slowly sounded, "You're called Chen Yang, right?" Chen Yang was slightly stunned. This time, he did not choose to ignore it, but asked with a hint of eagerness, "Senior, what is the upper part of the extinction of righteousness sword that you mentioned?" He had vaguely heard the old man mention it before, which had always filled his heart with doubts. The so-called extinction of righteousness sword, the full name is extinction of emotion and righteousness sword, the upper part is naturally the extinction of emotion sword. The old man squinted slightly. Oh, senior, where can this profound technique be obtained? Chen Yong leaned forward involuntarily. The old man frowned slightly, a hint of surprise in his eyes. You dare to cultivate it? Cultivating this technique will make people become merciless and unjust. Do you know the consequences? Chen Yang's expression tightened, a struggle flashing in his eyes, but he quickly became firm. Senior is joking. We Zanshu should naturally prioritize the Great Tao. If we can attain the Great Tao, what does it matter even if we become merciless and unjust? All right, I admire your courage. The old man nodded slightly, a hint of appreciation in his eyes. However, I really don't know where the extinction of emotion sword is. Heh, senior must be tricking me. Senior, rest assured, as long as I, Chen Yong, can obtain the complete technique, I will definitely thank senior for his guidance in the future. Chen Yong smiled slightly, a hint of certainty in his eyes. What's the use of thanks? Can you let me out? The old man snorted, a hint of helplessness and bitterness on his face. Chen Yang's heart stirred, and he straightened his body and said, Senior, I am a true disciple of the corpse demon sect. I was imprisoned this time only because I was framed. I will naturally be able to get out soon. When that time comes, I will definitely find a way to save Senior. The old man was slightly stunned, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Can you really do it? Naturally. Chen Yong nodded heavily. Forget it, I really don't know where this extinction of emotion sword is. I only know that this profound technique came from the Extinction Sword sect, a demonic sect jointly destroyed by the Corpse Demon sect and the Death Shadow sect. The old man sighed and said slowly. I see, thank you for telling me, Senior. May I ask what Senior's name is? Chen Yong said respectfully. However, the old man suddenly fell silent, staring blankly at the top of the prison, as if he had not heard Chen Yang's words at all. Chen Yong frowned slightly, secretly wondering in his heart, strange. He didn't understand why the old man suddenly had such a reaction, but no matter how he asked, the old man ignored him. Just then, the jailer's voice came. True disciple Chen Yong, the sect leader summons you. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 55 The First True Teaching. Corpse Lord Hall. A nauseating stench of decay permeated the eerie atmosphere, with faint, ghostly green flames flickering in the dim light. The sect leader of the Corpse Demon sect was shrouded in dense black energy, which churned like a tangible substance, completely obscuring his face. However, within the Corpse Demon sect, Zan cultivators did not rely on appearance to identify each other. Everyone knew that the person before them was the supreme authority of the Corpse Demon sect, the sect leader, Crimson Corpse True Cultivator. Chen Yong was tightly bound by enchanted iron chains, and he was escorted in with faltering steps. His clothes were tattered, and his hair was scattered messily over his face. A hint of stubbornness and unwillingness shone through his pale face, and a flicker of anger was faintly visible in his eyes, yet he forcefully suppressed it. Sect leader Crimson Corpse True Cultivator slowly walked up to Chen Yong, his eerie voice seeming to come from the 9 nether regions. Do you know who you are? This was the first time Chen Yong had faced the sect leader at such close range. He suppressed the tension in his heart and said with slightly fluctuating breath, Disciple Chen Yong, a true disciple of the Blood Demon Peak's Joyful Union Hall. Oh, strange. You really haven't gone mad, Crimson Corpse True Cultivator said, his tone filled with surprise. As a demon cultivator, he could see at a glance whether a demon cultivator was mad or not. This disciple has never gone mad. It was all Ji Yuxuan's doing. Because she couldn't obtain this disciple's yang essence, she deliberately framed and slandered me. Chen Yang's face was filled with grief and indignation, and his voice carried a trace of trembling, as if the grievances that had been suppressed for a long time finally erupted at this moment. That's not right. That day, the Peak Lord of Blood Demon Peak and the Hall Master of Joyful Union Hall both saw a black mist Chan Rao around your body. It was clearly a symptom of madness. Crimson Corpse True Cultivator's gaze was like lightning as he stared straight at Chen Yong, mercilessly exposing him. Chen Yong took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down, and slowly said, Sect leader, in fact, this disciple has a special constitution that can suppress the state of madness. Although it seemed like madness at the time, it will recover on its own after a while. Upon hearing this, a glimmer of surprise flashed in Crimson Corpse True Cultivator's eyes. He stretched out his withered hand, probing towards Chen Yang's pulse like an eagle's claw. After a moment, his brow furrowed, revealing a look of doubt. It's just an ordinary constitution, nothing special. But in an instant, he laughed loudly. Ha, it seems to be a deeply hidden demon sealing constitution. This is a blessing for my sect. With that, he waved his hand, and a black light flashed, and the enchanted iron chains on Chen Yang's body snapped in response. This sect leader really knows how to save face. It's not a demon-sealing constitution at all, but merely this venerable one's dual control. Chen Yang complained inwardly and moved his sore wrists. Before he could show any joy, he heard Crimson Corp's true cultivator say coldly, "Remember, don't fight with that Ji Yuxuan again in the future. Focus on cultivation, that is the proper thing to do." Chen Yang's heart tightened, and he quickly lowered his head and respectfully replied, "I respectfully obey the sect leader's instructions." Crimson Corp's true cultivator nodded with satisfaction, a hint of scrutiny flashing in his eyes. "You possess a demon-sealing constitution, and your future is limitless. Next, go to the Hall of Punishments as a true disciple. If you perform well, you will have the opportunity to become the chief disciple." Chen Yang was overjoyed, and his face could not hide his excitement. He quickly replied, "Yes." The 3 halls of Blood Demon Peak, the Demon Refining Hall, the Hall of Punishments, and the Joyful Union Hall, each had their own responsibilities. Especially the position of chief disciple of the Hall of Punishments, which had been vacant. The chief disciple meant being the deputy hall master, and if Chen Yang could really become one, his position within the Corpse Demon sect would greatly increase. Extracted the fate of a Zon beast, 1 point. Extracted the fate of a Zon beast, 1 point. Within the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan could now turn a blind eye to the information conveyed by these fate points obtained by the clones. In fact, there was much less of this information now. Because the tasks performed by the clones in each sect were different, only a few clones could obtain fate points by hunting Zon beasts. Since Lu Yuan could simultaneously control 4 clones, the ability of the other clones to absorb cultivation points had also uniformly increased with Lu Yuan's improvement. At this moment, Chen Yang had refined another 100 of the lowest level clones and was preparing to send them into the Corpse Refining Dao platform. This operation had exhausted his fate points. For long-term development and planning, Lu Yuan knew that he had to find ways to obtain more fate points. Fortunately, the other clones can earn Zon crystals. Moreover, Yi's alchemy skills are becoming more and more exquisite, and he has now reached the level of a first-grade high quality. In a few days, he should be able to break through to the 2nd grade. Lu Yuan had recently discovered that sharing cultivation experience between clones could indeed quickly improve the mastery of Zon techniques and skills. Previously, he had copied the alchemy technique to the clone that opened a pill shop in Nanline Bazaar, and that pill shop's business was exceptionally booming. Afterwards, he copied the alchemy technique to several other clones and found that in the continuous process of alchemy, sharing experience through the central clone could greatly accelerate the mastery of the alchemy technique. Combined with his own consciousness descending for personal comprehension, Yi's alchemy skills quickly reached the realm of first-grade high quality. After carefully checking the state of several important clones, Lu Yuan began to review the latest news from the surrounding sects through the central clone. Suddenly, a message came that aroused suspicion in his heart. The Shadow Death sect is actually going to contact the Corpse Demon sect. What is the reason for this? It should be known that among the demonic paths, sects have always been suspicious of each other, and acts of mutual framing and backstabbing are common. Most of them are unwilling to have too much contact. Could it be that another strange item has appeared in the world? Thinking of this, Lu Yuan was overjoyed. After all, strange items could increase the level of the strange blessed land, which would greatly help his cultivation. At this moment, Chen Yang sent a message that the sect leader of the Corpse Demon sect had actually summoned him, seemingly related to the arrival of the Shadow Death sect's envoy. Inside the gloomy and dim Corpse Lord Hall, Chen Yang stepped into this place again, his heart inevitably filled with some vigilance. Looking around, he found that he was not the only true disciple in the hall. Dozens of figures were present, and the atmosphere seemed a bit solemn. Could it be that all the true disciples are here? Chen Yang pondered to himself, his gaze inadvertently sweeping over Ji Yuxuan. She was looking at him with a smile that was not a smile, but her eyes faintly revealed a trace of icy killing intent. Chen Yang's heart tightened, realizing that he must quickly plan how to deal with Ji Yuxuan's threat. With the assistance of the main body and a large number of clones, he even considered imprisoning Ji Yuxuan and sucking her cultivation dry. But as soon as he had this idea, he suddenly shuddered. That's not right. Why is my thinking so ruthless and demonic? It seems that I have been too deeply influenced by this cultivation technique and must find an opportunity to reset my divine soul. Chen Yang suppressed the distracting thoughts in his heart and secretly reminded himself. At this moment, Qian Cha, who was slightly chubby, suddenly flashed out from the side of the hall and shouted at the top of his voice, "First true disciple Zhao Tian arrives." With this loud shout, the hall door slowly opened, and a slender figure stepped in. Zhao Tian was wearing a black robe that gleamed with dark light, and the corners of his clothes were exquisitely embroidered with dark gold rune patterns. As the runes flowed, they seemed to contain a mysterious power, like a faint light flickering in the dark night. Each step he took was steady and powerful, and the stone slabs under his feet seemed to be trembling slightly, and an invisible pressure permeated the air. Everyone couldn't help but look sideways. Ji Yuxuan, who had been somewhat unruly, instantly restrained the killing intent in her eyes, and her expression became respectful. Zhao Tian's gaze was like lightning as he slowly scanned the crowd in the hall. When his gaze fell on Chen Yang, he paused slightly, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. Chen Yang only felt a substantial sense of oppression coming towards him, his heart constricted violently, and a layer of fine sweat could not help but break out on his forehead. Then, Zhao Tian retracted his gaze and slowly opened his mouth. This time, the Shadow Death Sect's envoy has come, and they must have some ulterior motives. The sect leader has summoned us here, presumably to jointly deal with the variables involved. Chen Yang's heart stirred, keenly realizing that this might be an excellent opportunity to obtain more cultivation resources. Just as he was pondering secretly, a gust of cold wind blew past, and the sect leader Crimson Corp's true cultivator's withered and emaciated figure slowly emerged. Beside him were two Shadow Death Sect envoys shrouded in shadows, and only their vague figures could be seen. Chapter 56 The 12 Armed Beings. The reason for summoning the true disciples of the sect this time is to ask you, who is willing to go to the Shadow Death Sect for an alliance meeting? Sect leader Crimson Corp slowly spoke from the high platform. Alliance meeting. This situation is quite rare within the Corp's demon sect. All the true disciples silently contemplated, knowing that this was not an enviable task. Based on past experiences, disciples who went to participate in alliance meetings were like hostages. Once the relationship between the two sects broke down, the disciples who went there would definitely be in a difficult situation. Crimson Corpse, seeing this, coldly snorted, "What? Have you all become mutes? You usually boast about how brave you are, but now you don't even dare to accept this little matter." The true disciples below the stage were dissatisfied, but they didn't dare to refute. Sect leader, I am willing to go. Ji Yuxuan actually stood up voluntarily, her tone firm. Crimson Corpse looked at her, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. Not bad, worthy of being the chief true disciple of the Joyful Union Hall. Ji Yuxuan raised her head, her gaze as firm as a torch. It's just that this disciple is as close as siblings with junior brother Chen Yang, and hopes that the sect leader can allow him to go with me. As soon as these words came out, Chen Yang's heart tightened, and he cursed inwardly, as close as siblings my foot. This Yao Nu clearly wants to harm me. Ji Yuxuan was determined to kill Chen Yang, and this time she wanted to coerce sect leader Crimson Corpse into agreeing to her request. Crimson Corpse frowned slightly, pondered for a moment, and slowly nodded. All right, it was originally necessary for two people to go, so let Ji Yuxuan and Chen Yang go together. Ji Yuxuan cupped her hands and bowed, a hint of imperceptible smugness on her face. Thank you, sect leader. Seeing this, the other true disciples secretly breathed a sigh of relief, thankful that they didn't have to take this risk. Sect leader, wait a moment, it's not that this disciple is unwilling to go, it's just that recently, when this disciple cultivates, I always feel that there is something strange with my cultivation technique. I have a premonition that there will be an error in my cultivation technique in the near future, and I may even fall into a demonic state, so please, sect leader, choose someone else. Chen Yang didn't want to fulfill Ji Yuxuan's wish, and quickly found an excuse to decline. It doesn't matter, junior brother, with senior sister here, I will definitely be able to suppress your inner demons. Ji Yuxuan's lips curled into a sneer, her eyes full of unquestionable determination. Sect leader Crimson Corpse also spoke. This matter is settled, you go back and prepare, and set off in 3 days. Remember, you represent the face of the Corpse Demon sect, don't lose our face. Ji Yuxuan respectfully replied, yes, this disciple will definitely live up to expectations. Sect leader Crimson Corpse left first, and the many true disciples gradually dispersed. Blood Demon Peak, in front of the Demon Refining Hall. Chen Yang frowned, secretly plotting in his heart. It seems that I have to prepare the living puppet Dao soldier formation and the prison formation. This prison formation is the top forbidden formation of my Corpse Demon sect, capable of imprisoning even experts in the palace completion realm. As the hostage sent by the sect to the Shadow Death sect, if I use this formation as a bargaining chip, I might be able to get some benefits from the sect. Inside the demon refining hall, a faint bloody aura permeated the air. Chen Yang steadily stepped in and found the Peak Lord of Blood Demon Peak. As the Peak Lord of Blood Demon Peak, and also the Hall Master of the Demon Refining Hall, this is a common way of holding office within the Corpse Demon sect, which also shows the person's respected status and ruthless methods. Chen Yang slightly cupped his fists, his expression respectful but not lacking in composure, and said in a deep voice, "Peak Lord, this time I have come to retrieve my Blood Demon Dao soldier." The Peak Lord of Blood Demon Peak suddenly opened his slightly closed eyes, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes, and then he raised his head and laughed loudly. "Haha, boy, your Dao soldier is being strengthened by this Peak's secret technique, and is now at a critical stage, it must not be taken out." The laughter echoed in the empty demon refining hall, carrying an unquestionable majesty, obviously not wanting to return the Blood Demon Dao soldier to Chen Yang, intending to take it for himself. Chen Yang frowned slightly, and thought to himself, this old bastard really wants to cheat me. However, his face remained unchanged, and he sincerely said, "Peak Lord, I am about to go to the Shadow Death sect, and that Blood Demon Dao soldier has followed me for many years, and is of utmost importance to me. Without its help, this trip may be fraught with danger." The Peak Lord crossed his arms, a playful smile on his face, his eyes full of disdain. "Do you think this is just ordinary strengthening? This is the unique secret of my Blood Demon Peak, which can greatly increase the strength of your Dao soldier. It cannot be taken out now, and there is no danger in going to the Shadow Death sect, so go with peace of mind." Chen Yang's heart tightened, he gritted his teeth, and said with a firm gaze, "Peak Lord, if I encounter misfortune at the Alliance meeting, without the help of the Dao soldier, not only will my life be in danger, but I am also afraid that it will damage the reputation of my Corpse Demon sect. I hope that the Peak Lord will fulfill my request." The Peak Lord narrowed his eyes slightly, looking Chen Yang up and down like a lurking tiger, and sneered, "Boy, you are quite clever. But don't worry, this Peak Lord is not an unreasonable person, and will grant you the opportunity to choose 6 living puppets at the training ground." After saying that, the Peak Lord casually took out a black rune glowing with a faint light and threw it towards Chen Yang. Chen Yang took the military talisman, but did not move his feet, a look of embarrassment on his face. "Peak Lord, my Blood Demon Dao soldier is at the Palace Completion Realm, but the living puppet soldier talisman you gave me is only at the Profound Gathering Completion Realm. The difference in strength is too great, and it is far from enough for my trip. What, do you really want to get back the Blood Demon Dao soldier?" A cold killing intent suddenly burst out from the eyes of the Blood Demon Peak Lord, and the aura around him instantly became sharp, as if he would kill Chen Yang on the spot if he said one more word. The air in the demon refining hall seemed to freeze, so oppressive that people could hardly breathe. Chen Yang's expression remained unchanged, and he slowly said, "Now the Blood Demon is in the critical stage of strengthening, so I naturally dare not forcibly demand it. It's just that Peak Lord, these 2 living puppets are really too few. I am going on a mission where there is a slim chance of survival, and I hope that the Peak Lord can grant me 12 living puppets in consideration of my risking my life for the sect to help me." The Peak Lord's face instantly turned as gloomy as the sky before a storm, and the temperature of the entire demon refining hall plummeted, as if he were in an ice cellar. He stared at Chen Yang, his eyes full of anger. Chen Yang still straightened his back, and met the Peak Lord's gaze without flinching. After a moment of silence, the Peak Lord slowly closed his eyes, as if weighing the pros and cons. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes and nodded slightly. "All right, this Peak Lord will agree to you. But you better remember what you said today. If you dare to go back on your word, this Peak Lord will definitely make you wish you were dead." Chen Yang was cold-blooded in his heart, and began to plan how to trick this Peak Lord, but his face still maintained respect, and he hurriedly cupped his fists and saluted. "Thank you for your cultivation, Peak Lord, this disciple will never be ungrateful, and if I violate this statement, may I be condemned by heaven." The Peak Lord took the living puppet soldier talisman again, quickly formed hand seals, chanted words, and made some adjustments to the soldier talisman. Then, he threw the soldier talisman to Chen Yang. Chen Yang took the soldier talisman, saluted again, turned and left the demon refining hall, and walked towards the training ground, secretly planning his next plan. Chapter 57, Conspiracy. A flying boat glided leisurely across the verdant mountains and forests, its speed astonishing yet leaving not a trace of wind, as if merged with heaven and earth. Inside a luxurious private room, Ji Yuxuan leaned languidly against a soft couch, her figure graceful, her waist slender as a willow, her eyes carrying a hint of a playful smile. Those captivating eyes of hers were now fixed coldly on Chen Yang, who stood before her, her tone filled with an unquestionable chill. Do you plan to kill yourself, or obediently hand over your yang essence? Chen Yang looked helpless, his eyes full of pleading. Senior sister, is there really no room to salvage our relationship? Hey! Ji Yuxuan chuckled softly, her voice as melodious as a seductive bell, yet laced with bone-chilling coldness. You are nothing more than a furnace for my cultivation, yet you dare to be so arrogant, even daring to absorb my yin essence. No one has ever dared to treat me like this. Senior sister, you're the only one in my heart. Even if I become a true disciple, it won't change our relationship. Spare your words. Even if you become a true disciple, taking your life would only be a little more troublesome for me. Her initiative to go to the Shadow Death sect this time was one of the prices she had to pay to get rid of Chen Yang. After all, plotting against a true disciple, even a chief true disciple, came at a significant cost. Chen Yang sighed, his face surprisingly calm. It seems senior sister is determined to take my life. He had already begun communicating with Lu Yuan, transmitting information. A moment later, the flying boat suddenly shook violently, as if struck by a tremendous force. Ji Yuxuan's expression changed slightly, and she secretly thought something was wrong. Before she could react, Long Yanzi, radiating a chilling murderous aura, suddenly appeared in the flying boat. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, Ji Yuxuan, today is your death. You killed my brother Long Yanzi, you must pay with blood. Ji Yuxuan frowned, and scolded coldly, Long Yanzi, how dare you attack my holy sect's flying boat? A mocking smile curled at the corner of her lips, HMPH, how foolish, I am not the murderer who killed your brother at all. Chen Yang stood aside, watching everything with a blank expression, secretly pleased. In fact, Long Yanzi's appearance here was due to him leaking Ji Yuxuan's whereabouts through his avatar in the Star Sword sect. Long Yanzi roared, and his hands quickly formed a series of hand seals. A huge fire dragon roared and charged towards the flying boat. The fire dragon was so powerful that it seemed to devour the entire flying boat. Ji Yuxuan's face was solemn, and with a wave of her hands, a blood whip transformed into countless whip shadows, instantly appearing in front of her, trying to block the fire dragon's impact. However, Long Yanzi was strong, and the fire dragon was unstoppable, crashing heavily into the barrier. Boom! With a loud noise, the barrier shattered, and the flying boat swayed under the powerful impact. Ji Yuxuan barely managed to steady herself, Zon power surging in her hands, the bloodshed whip constantly lashing out, the whip shadows like snakes, trying to counterattack. But Long Yanzi was worthy of being the second true disciple of the Star Sword sect, and his strength far surpassed Ji Yuxuan. After a few rounds, Ji Yuxuan gradually lost her strength, and she was injured in several places. Chen Yang stood aside, still expressionless on the surface, without making any move to help. Long Yanzi seized the opportunity to press forward, the long sword in his hand flashing with a cold light, aiming straight for Ji Yuxuan's throat. Ji Yuxuan dodged to the side, barely avoiding the fatal blow. At this critical moment, a figure flashed like a ghost in front of Ji Yuxuan, steadily blocking Long Yanzi's fierce attack. Long Yanzi saw who it was, his expression changed slightly, and his brow furrowed. Blood Demon Peak Master Mo Ming, why are you here? Peak Master Mo Ming smirked, glancing coldly at Long Yanzi, and slowly said, Junior, I'll take your life. Mo Ming, you are still a Peak Master, yet you bully the weak with your strength, aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Just then, a clear voice came from afar, accompanied by a surge of righteous energy, and a tall figure appeared before everyone. Peak Master Mo Ming raised his eyebrows slightly, a hint of disdain flashing in his eyes. So it's Hall Master Shen of the Moon Hall of the Star Sword sect, it seems you think highly of this true disciple. You're joking, hasn't your Peak Master also appeared? Hall Master Shen looked grim, his words filled with unquestionable authority. With the appearance of these two figures, the surrounding Zon energy surged violently, as if it was about to solidify, and a suffocating sense of oppression permeated the air. Enough nonsense, Ji Yuxuan killed my Star Sword sect disciple, this debt must be settled, hand her over, and I won't kill you today. Hall Master Shen said coldly. Kill me. Are you worthy? Mo Ming didn't care about the threat. Seeing this, Hall Master Shen said no more, and quickly formed hand seals. In an instant, 7 flying swords flashing with cold light roared out, carrying a fierce sword energy, and shot towards Peak Master Mo Ming. Peak Master Mo Ming's face sank, and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. Without hesitation, he waved his hand, and 6 blood demon Tao soldiers in the replenishing palace realm, exuding a strange aura, appeared out of thin air. These blood demon Tao soldiers moved in unison, instantly forming a strange and complex formation, protecting Peak Master Mo Ming within it. At the same time, a powerful and evil force emanated from the formation, colliding with the righteous energy contained in Hall Master Shen's flying swords, stirring up bursts of energy ripples. "Senior sister, run, Long Yanzi is here." On the ground, Chen Yang shouted loudly with a worried look. Ji Yuxuan was slightly startled, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. Chen Yang's sudden concern made her feel a bad premonition. As it turned out, Chen Yang's voice was as loud as a bell, echoing in the empty surroundings. Long Yanzi quickly noticed Chen Yang, his gaze swept over, and naturally found Ji Yuxuan's figure. Sure enough, Long Yanzi's eyes narrowed, and he flew over like a black lightning bolt. Ji Yuxuan's face turned pale instantly. She knew that her original strength was not much worse than Long Yanzi's, but unfortunately, her cultivation had been absorbed by Chen Yang before, and her realm had fallen to the 3rd level of the replenishing palace realm. Now she couldn't compete with Long Yanzi at all. In fact, Ji Yuxuan had already learned from the spies in the Star Sword sect that Long Yanzi was coming to attack. She had planned to use this opportunity to notify the Blood Demon Peak Master in advance, intending to set up an ambush and get rid of Long Yanzi in one fell swoop. But what she didn't expect was that the Moon Sword Hall Master suddenly appeared, disrupting her plan. Now she didn't have time to think about the reason. The situation was urgent. Ji Yuxuan didn't have time to think too much, turned around and began to flee desperately. Seeing this, Chen Yang immediately rushed forward, hugged Ji Yuxuan, and shouted loudly, "Senior sister, Long Yanzi is here, run." The voice was deafening, and could be heard clearly several miles away. How could Long Yanzi easily let Ji Yuxuan go, chasing closely behind? No matter how Ji Yuxuan tried to avoid him, Chen Yang's deliberately amplified voice would reveal her location without fail. Ji Yuxuan was both angry and anxious, and said with gritted teeth, "You damn guy, it seems I can't escape today without getting rid of you." Saying that, she prepared to attack Chen Yang. Chen Yang quickly dodged away and flew away. Long Yanzi also caught up at this time. Ji Yuxuan knew that there was no way to retreat at this time, and could only fight to the death. She bit her lip tightly, forcibly operating the remaining Zon power in her body, and her face instantly turned red. The bloodshed whip in her hand suddenly raised, and with a fierce wind, it lashed fiercely towards Long Yanzi. Long Yanzi snorted coldly, his figure flashed, easily dodging to the side, and then stabbed Ji Yuxuan with a sword in his backhand. Ji Yuxuan couldn't dodge in time, the tip of the sword pierced into her shoulder, and blood gushed out instantly, staining her clothes red. Ji Yuxuan endured the severe pain, and waved the bloodshed whip again, trying to counterattack. However, Long Yanzi was strong, and easily dodged her attack. At this critical moment, the Blood Demon Peak Master, as a strong man in the condensing extremity realm, had already sensed the fierce battle below. He raised his hand and threw out a blood light, which shot towards Long Yanzi like a red lightning bolt. Long Yanzi noticed the danger and hurriedly dodged. The blood light exploded, and then, a large amount of blood mist instantly filled the surroundings, obscuring the line of sight. Long Yanzi was shocked and looked around vigilantly. However, when the blood mist dissipated slightly, he found that Ji Yuxuan had long since disappeared. Long Yanzi was furious and searched frantically around. The Blood Demon Peak Master in the high sky also frowned, and wondered in his heart, when did Ji Yuxuan's escape technique become so exquisite that she disappeared so quickly without a trace? Chapter 58, Prisoner Array. Within the eerie blessed land. Peculiar mists permeated, like a thick veil, enveloping everything and obscuring vision. Ji Yuxuan stood blankly in this fog, her heart filled with doubt and unease. She didn't know why she had suddenly appeared here, and the surrounding atmosphere made her feel an indescribable discomfort. In this bizarre environment, everything seemed so unfamiliar and mysterious. Faint, eerie winds rustled through the mist, as if countless wronged souls were whispering. The ground was covered in a thick layer of moss, damp and emitting a foul odor. The surrounding trees grew in twisted shapes, their branches snaking like serpents, as if narrating the strangeness of this land. Suddenly, 12 living puppets at the perfection of the profound convergence realm appeared out of thin air. These living puppets quickly formed a battle formation, which Ji Yuxuan immediately recognized as the prison formation. Knowing that living puppet Dao soldiers could unleash formidable formations, her heart tightened instantly. "Chen Yang, how dare you attack me?" Ji Yuxuan immediately guessed who was behind this. Senior sister, this junior brother has been begging you to spare me a path to survival, but you haven't given me any chance at all. Chen Yang's voice came from the mist. Junior brother, I was wrong before, please spare me this time. Ji Yuxuan's voice trembled slightly, knowing the power of this formation, especially after fighting Long Yanzi, she was no match in her current state. Chen Yang slowly walked out of the mist, sneering, Senior sister, when I was begging bitterly, did you ever have a shred of compassion? Now that you've fallen to this state, you beg for mercy, don't you think it's too late? Ji Yuxuan gritted her teeth and said, Junior brother, as long as you let me go, I can give you my cultivation techniques, and many treasures as well. Chen Yang remained unmoved. Senior sister, those things are tempting, but compared to the hatred in my heart, they are not worth mentioning. Moreover, everything here is now under my control. Ji Yuxuan hardened her heart, a fierce look on her face. If that's the case, then let's fight to the death. She suddenly launched an attack, the bloodthirst whip in her hand like a black lightning bolt, instantly binding Chen Yang and dragging him in front of her. She knew that instead of dealing with the 12 living puppet Dao soldiers, it was better to control the formation master first, which might directly solve the problem. Junior brother, you are still too young, wanting to imprison me. Now hand over the control of the living puppet Dao soldiers to me. Ji Yuxuan said with a vicious look, stepping on Chen Yang's chest. Senior sister, you are still too ruthless, but I expected this from a demonic woman like you. In that case, let's perish together. After Chen Yang finished speaking, his body suddenly emitted a dazzling light, and he chose to self-detonate. At such close range, Ji Yuxuan had no time to dodge. The Zan robe on her body was instantly blasted to pieces, and her whole body was also blasted into a bloody mess. Nether Abyss Profound Blast. Why? Ji Yuxuan's face was full of shock and incomprehension. She had bestowed this technique to Chen Yang, intending to train Chen Yang into a death soldier after dual cultivation, making the most of him, but she never expected him to self-detonate so decisively. Just as she was still in shock, another figure slowly walked out of the mist, with a strange smile on his face. Senior sister, are you very surprised? Who are you? Why is your aura exactly the same as Chen Yang's just now? This is impossible. Ji Yuxuan widened her eyes, looking at the person in front of her in disbelief. Then, this Chen Yang immediately made a hand seal, and the 12 living puppet clones immediately moved. It must be said that Ji Yuxuan was indeed a demon Dao prodigy. Even if she was seriously injured, she could still barely counterattack against the 12 living puppet Dao soldiers. The bloodthirst whip in her hand kept waving, bringing up black whip shadows. However, Chen Yang also quickly joined the battle, wielding the Extinguish Righteousness sword and unleashing the final move, Absolute Awakening. A fierce sword light flashed, directly severing Ji Yuxuan's heel. Immediately afterward, the prison formation of the 12 living puppets was fully activated, imprisoning Ji Yuxuan tightly. After everything settled down, the strange mist gradually dispersed. Lu Yuan's figure slowly appeared. All of this was within his plan. He waved his hand gently, as if controlling everything. Chen Yang's face showed a sinister expression, and the 12 living puppets controlled Ji Yuxuan to a corner of the eerie blessed land. Lu Yuan knew that although his clone Chen Yang could use his talent to carry out some special cultivation, with Ji Yuxuan, as a person of the demon Dao, was good at controlling people's hearts, and he had to guard against it. After all, he was still facing the hidden dangers brought by the body-tempering art, and he really didn't want to add more trouble. Moreover, the clone Chen Yang had cultivated many demonic arts, coupled with the special environment of the eerie blessed land. Lu Yuan felt that he could filter out potential dangers to a certain extent. Chen Yang walked up to Ji Yuxuan. At this time, Ji Yuxuan was tightly bound by chains transformed from Zan power, and her limbs were also firmly controlled by the living puppet clones. Chen Yang, how dare you treat me so cruelly? The sect will not let you go. Ji Yuxuan roared angrily, her eyes filled with unwillingness and resentment. At this time, her heart was full of doubts and incomprehension. She didn't understand why Chen Yang had two people, and why the power of the Extinguish Righteousness sword he used just now was so powerful. Senior sister, once you get to this place, it's useless even if you shout your throat out. Haven't you always been dual cultivating? This junior brother will satisfy you today. Chen Yang said with a sneer. Ji Yuxuan had already been blasted, revealing her spring scenery. Her originally delicate skin was exposed in large areas, and the whiteness of her chest was looming, as crystal clear as mud and fat jade. Her skin radiated a faint luster, as if it could be broken by blowing, as delicate as silk. That touch of spring scenery, like a blooming flower, was delicate and charming, making people intoxicated. She was tall and slender, even taller than Chen Yang, with beautiful curves and a slender waist, as if it could not be grasped. Her slender legs loomed in the tattered clothes, revealing a different kind of sexiness and charm. Chen Yang didn't hesitate and went straight in, starting his talent, no leakage reverse absorption. Ji Yuxuan began to curse Chen Yang. Chen Yang laughed loudly, and also began to curse Ji Yuxuan constantly. The two cursed each other, and Chen Yang even began to go crazy. Lu Yuan, who was on the side, muttered to himself when he saw this scene. As expected, there is a problem. This Ji Yuxuan seems to have set up some means for herself, but it's okay. In an instant, Lu Yuan's consciousness descended and continued to control Chen Yang's dual cultivation. Originally, seeing Chen Yang who was already crazy, he thought he would be fine. However, after Lu Yuan's consciousness descended, although Chen Yang was surrounded by black mist, revealing the symptoms of madness, the dual cultivation still did not stop. Slowly, Ji Yuxuan became anxious, feeling that her yin essence and cultivation level were constantly falling. Moreover, irreversible symptoms appeared, but she was helpless. The prison formation of the 12 living puppet Dao soldiers made her unable to resist at all. When Ji Yuxuan's cultivation level had fallen to the second supplement of the palace, Chen Yang stopped the dual cultivation, then withdrew, and the 12 living puppet Dao soldiers directly wrapped her up. Not bad, refining these cultivation levels should allow me to step into the third supplement realm. Chen Yang muttered to himself, while walking to Lu Yuan's side to reset. Chapter 59, The Heavenly Demon Sect's Envoy. It seems that trying to absorb everything at once is still too difficult. Even with the Nasu technique to digest this cultivation, it will still take 3 days for the yin essence to settle, Chen Yang thought. After returning to zero, he resumed his normal state and immediately sat down cross-legged, beginning to circulate his cultivation technique to digest the immense cultivation within his body. Seeing this, Lu Yuan didn't say much more and continued to devote himself to his daily cultivation and planning. Relying on the continuous supply of cultivation points from his doppelgangers, his realm had steadily risen to the 9th level of the Gathering Profound Realm. It's time to plan for the palace supplementing pill. Lu Yuan mused to himself, a glint of light flashing in his eyes. He looked up at the empty and eerie blessed land and softly asked, can the Gathering Profound Realm absorb cultivation points from the palace supplementing realm? Open black lens bracket. Yes, cultivation points from a higher level can be converted into those of a lower level, but the reverse is not possible, close black lens bracket. Then, if the 10 palace supplementing realm cultivation points obtained daily by the living puppet 42 are converted into Gathering Profound Realm cultivation points, how much will I gain each day? Open black lens bracket. Based on a conversion ratio of 1 to 50, the Blessed One can obtain 500 points daily, close black lens bracket. Begin the conversion. Lu Yuan issued the order without hesitation. Now that Chen Yang no longer needed cultivation points, Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't waste these resources. Moreover, he had already obtained the subsequent cultivation techniques, and the hidden dangers of demonic path techniques were no longer a threat to him. Time flew by, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, a large number of doppelgangers broke through to the great perfection of the Gathering Profound Realm, and the self-destruction power of the Nether Profound Burst even reached the second supplement realm. Lu Yuan was only one step away from the great perfection of the Gathering Profound Realm. With just one palace supplementing pill, he could step into the palace supplementing realm and become a true powerhouse. The medicinal ingredients for refining the palace supplementing pill are still missing one main ingredient, the inner core of a Tier 3 Ningji Profound Beast or a Tier 2 Tongling Profound Herb. Both of these are extremely rare, Lu Yuan muttered to himself, his brow furrowed slightly. However, he quickly relaxed his brow. Yi's doppelganger's alchemy skills are improving extremely fast with the shared experience of the doppelgangers, and are already approaching the Tier 2 level. As long as I give him some more time, refining the palace supplementing pill will not be difficult. In order to speed up the improvement of alchemy skills, Lu Yuan also copied alchemy skills for several doppelgangers, allowing them to refine Tier 1 pills day and night. After Chen Yang repeatedly absorbed Ji Yuxuan's yin essence, his realm had broken through to the third supplement of the palace supplementing realm, only one step away from the fourth supplement realm. Surprisingly, Ji Yuxuan was still able to withstand it and had not yet fallen. Just as Lu Yuan and Chen Yang were focused on cultivation, news came from the Corpse Demon Sect's doppelganger that a new hostage had gone to the Dead Shadow Sect. After Lu Yuan learned of this, he began to consider whether to let Chen Yang return to the Corpse Demon Sect in order to better control the situation. At the same time, within the corpse demon sect, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and the wind was howling. A black-robed figure descended from the sky like a ghost, emitting a cold aura. The sect leader of the corpse demon sect narrowed his eyes, looked at the person warily, and said in a deep voice, "Who are you, Your Excellency, and why are you trespassing on my sect?" The black-robed man sneered and slowly took out a token. Upon seeing this, the sect leader's face changed slightly, and he quickly cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Blood Moon Envoy of the Heavenly Demon Sect. I wonder what brings the envoy here. For war." Blood Moon's tone was icy cold, and his eyes revealed an arrogant and invincible air. "My Heavenly Demon Sect intends to unify the Western Wasteland." "That's impossible. The strength of the righteous path is far stronger than that of our demonic path." The sect leader frowned, his heart filled with worry. "That's why you only need to listen to the commands of my Heavenly Demon Sect." Blood Moon's gaze was like an eagle, coldly pointing at the sect leader. "The rest of you, step back. I will talk to you alone." Although the sect leader was dissatisfied, he still signaled everyone to step back, leaving only a few living puppet Dao soldiers who were not treated as people. After everyone left, a sinister smile appeared on the Blood Moon envoy's face, and he slowly said, "My sect has a plan that can destroy a sect." "Oh, I would like to hear the details." The sect leader was curious, but he also felt a vague sense of unease. "There is a spiritual vein hub in Medicine Flower Valley. My sect has obtained an evil object. Just place it on top of the spiritual vein, and within a few months, Medicine Flower Valley will be devastated. The righteous path will inevitably spend a lot of energy to rescue them. At that time, the demonic path can take advantage of the situation." A sinister glint flashed in the Blood Moon envoy's eyes. The sect leader was shocked and immediately realized that the so-called evil object must be a strange item. Suppressing the shock in his heart, he continued to ask, "What does this have to do with my corpse demon sect?" "It's very simple. Your sect and the Dead Shadow sect will directly contain Medicine Flower Valley, and the rest will be left to my sect. After the matter is completed, your corpse demon sect can get 20% of the demonic path resources in the Western Wasteland." The Blood Moon envoy stared at the sect leader, his tone filled with threat. The sect leader's heart was struggling endlessly. He knew that if this matter was exposed, the corpse demon sect would suffer heavy losses, but the temptation of those 20% resources was too great. "This matter is of great importance. Allow me to consider it for a few days," the sect leader said in a deep voice. The Blood Moon envoy's face darkened, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Don't play tricks. Your corpse demon sect's current situation is not good. If you dare to reveal it to the righteous path, my Heavenly Demon Sect will be the first to destroy you." After saying that, the envoy flicked his sleeves and left. The sect leader looked at the envoy's departing back, his eyes complex. He knew that a huge crisis was quietly approaching, and he was about to face a difficult choice. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the eerie blessed land, Lu Yuan's doppelganger, one of the living puppet Dao soldiers who were not treated as people, took everything in. Evil object. Could it be that kind of strange item? Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed, and alarm bells rang in his heart. If that's the case, once something happens to Medicine Flower Valley, the entire Western Wasteland will be in chaos. It seems that I have to let Chen Yang return to the sect so that I can better carry out my plans. A thought flashed through his mind, and the Chen Yang doppelganger, who was still cultivating, flashed with light and left the eerie blessed land directly. I have to plan carefully. It's a pity that the soul-splitting technique is too difficult to break through. Now I'm only at the entry level. With the two doppelgangers operating at overload, I can only control 300 doppelgangers at present. If a large-scale righteous demonic war breaks out in the Western Wasteland, these doppelgangers may not be able to play a decisive role. Only by breaking through to the palace supplementing realm can I refine another central doppelganger. At that time, the number and coordination of controlled doppelgangers will be greatly improved. Lu Yuan looked at the information displayed on his iris and fell into deeper thought. Open black lens bracket Lord of the Eerie Blessed Land, Lu Yuan close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Lifespan, 1776 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Talent, none can consume life essence and share with doppelgangers close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Realm, 9th level of the Gathering Profound Realm 1292 25,600 can absorb doppelganger cultivation to improve close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Root Bone, inferior grade can consume life essence to obtain from doppelgangers close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Cultivation Technique, proficient body tempering technique can consume life essence to obtain from doppelgangers close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket spells, proficient star severing sword, entry-level soul shaping chapter can consume life essence and share with doppelgangers close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket early stage gathering profound realm doppelgangers, 219 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket mid stage gathering profound realm doppelgangers, 149 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket late stage gathering profound realm doppelgangers, 103 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket great perfection gathering profound realm doppelgangers, 88 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket early stage palace supplementing realm doppelgangers, Chenyang 3rd supplement 3 400s blood demon 3rd supplement 61 400s close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket life essence, 36 points close black lens bracket. In addition to the living puppet Dao soldiers, there are still more than 100 hidden doppelgangers scattered in the lower levels of various sects. Yi in Medicine Flower Valley is doing well and has become an inner disciple, and his realm has also reached the late stage of the gathering profound realm. Zan San in Star Sword sect has become the lackey of Long Yanzi and is also in the late stage of the gathering profound realm. But Mo Bai in the Dead Shadow sect is still wandering around the periphery and cannot get in touch with decision-making power at all. It seems that I have to send some messages and find a way to improve their status so that they can obtain more useful information. Once the war breaks out, although a large amount of life essence can be obtained, the doppelgangers will also be in danger. Although I can copy Chen Yang's righteousness extinguishing sword to improve the doppelgangers' ability to protect themselves, there is not enough life essence at present, which is a bit tricky. Lu Yuan frowned, a trace of anxiety flashing in his eyes. This is a game, and he is also walking on thin ice. If he makes a wrong move, he will lose a large number of doppelgangers. Chapter 60 Soul Search. Another month passed. In Nanline Town, a merchant alliance named Tianya quietly emerged. Relying on its low prices, this merchant alliance quickly gained prominence in Nanline Town, and its business was exceptionally booming. Its main business is pills, and it also sells various precious materials. Rumor has it that the predecessor of this Tianya Merchant Alliance was a fairly large-scale pill hall. The Tianya Merchant Alliance has an amazing supply capacity and extremely fast product updates. Even rare items thousands of miles away can be delivered to customers within 1 or 2 days after they place an order, and the prices are fair and reasonable, which makes it have an excellent reputation in the town. Half a month ago, at the junction of the Dead Shadow sect and the Star Sword sect, a thrilling battle between the righteous and the demonic suddenly broke out. The 4 major sects in the western land were involved, with the righteous Yaohua Valley and Star Sword sect facing off against the demonic Dead Shadow sect and Corpse Demon sect, swords drawn and bows bent, fighting in a dark and chaotic battle, with corpses strewn across the battlefield, and the light of spells and shouts of killing intertwined into a terrifying scene. Lu Yuan seized this opportunity to establish the Tianya Merchant Alliance. With his keen business acumen and decisive decision-making, he made a fortune from the war in just half a month, possessing nearly 100,000 Zon crystals in abundant resources. The Bubo pill, as a pill for Zon cultivators to break through to the second realm, generally sells for about 30,000 Zon crystals. With Lu Yuan's current financial resources, buying a Bubo pill would not be a problem. However, the circulation of Bubo pills is strictly controlled, and only sects are qualified to hold them. Occasionally, if one flows into the market, it will definitely cause fierce competition at large auctions. Lu Yuan inquired about news from various sources, but still could not find out where an auction would be held recently. What made him even more headache was that his incarnation in the righteous path did not accumulate enough contribution points to exchange for a Bubo pill, which put his plan to obtain the Bubo pill into a predicament. Relying on his status as a true disciple of Chen Yang, he could also obtain 1 Bubo pill from the demonic path, but he would never use demonic pills. Dao Soldier Peak soars into the clouds, and the lingering clouds and mist slowly float between the peaks like light gauze. Looking from a distance, it seems like a fairyland hidden outside the world. At the waist of the mountain, half covered by clouds and mist, stands a magnificent and solemn palace, the North Refining Hall. The palace is majestic, with flying eaves and bucket arches, showing extraordinary majesty. In the early morning, the soft sunlight poured down, reflecting on the glazed tiles of the North Refining Hall, and suddenly shone with colorful light, as if putting a gorgeous rosy garment on this palace. Chu Jing, dressed in a simple blue dress, the skirt swaying gently in the wind, came to the outside of the North Refining Hall early in the morning. At this moment, her face is beautiful, her eyebrows are slightly raised, her eyes are full of expectation and excitement, and her agile eyes look at the palace gate from time to time, as if anxiously waiting for something. As early as a few days ago, Chu Jing received the news that the living puppet Si'er Lu's retreat this time was extremely smooth and he successfully advanced. At this time, the Zan Qi around her is strong, and she is already in the Bubo realm. If Chen Yang relies on Lu Yuan and the weird blessed land to be promoted to Bubo, it all depends on cheating. However, Chu Jing, a Zan cultivator with mediocre aptitude, was able to become a Bubo powerhouse in just over a year, which is really unbelievable. However, Lu Yuan understood that this person possessed extremely strange luck, was cunning, and was good at hiding himself. After a while, when the time came, accompanied by a steady sound of footsteps, two figures slowly walked out of the North Refining Hall. The leading elder, with a cold face and a hint of majesty in his eyes, glanced at Chu Jing and said expressionlessly, "Chu Jing, according to the sect's regulations, you can take the living puppet Si'er Lu away." Chu Jing bowed slightly, a respectful smile on her face, and said softly, "Thank you, elder, for your accomplishment." After saying that, she moved her lotus steps lightly and walked towards the direction where the living puppet Si'er Lu was. When her eyes fell on Si'er Lu, she couldn't help but feel secretly happy. I saw Si'er Lu standing there with a burly figure, like an iron tower, with no expression on his cold face, and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle falcon, revealing a chilling murderous aura. He was surrounded by a strong Zan Qi. The Zan Qi rolled and surged like substance, showing his powerful strength. Chu Jing carefully observed and was pleasantly surprised to find that Si'er Lu not only successfully broke through to the Bubo realm, but also reached the three Bubo realm. A hint of undisguised ecstasy flashed in her eyes, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and she nodded in satisfaction. Afterwards, she respectfully bowed to the elder again and said, "Thank you, elder." After saying that, she took Si'er Lu away. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. At the same time, the execution hall of Blood Demon Peak. In the closed dark room, there was a creepy atmosphere. The dim light flickered uncertainly. In the corner, several gloomy skulls were quietly placed, and endless resentment seemed to be hidden in the hollow eye sockets. "Chen Yang, won't you confess your guilt?" A black-robed cultivator stared at Chen Yang with eagle-like eyes and shouted coldly. This person's aura is majestic, and the powerful strength of the Nine Bubo realm dominates the audience. He is the master of the execution hall, who is the only one who is respected in the execution hall. The corners of Chen Yang's mouth raised in a sneer, his eyes full of disdain. "What crime do I have? Why do you think that I framed Ji Yuxuan?" The hall master snorted coldly, a hint of impatience revealed in his eyes. "You went to the Dead Shadow sect with Ji Yuxuan. Why did her soul lamp go out, but you were able to return safely? There must be something tricky about this." Chen Yang's eyes widened in anger, and anger burned in his eyes. It was clearly the Star Sword sect who suddenly attacked that day. "We were outnumbered. The Peak Master also knows this. I was lucky enough to escape and fell into a dangerous place. I barely survived this life, but now you want to blame me." The hall master frowned, obviously not satisfied with Chen Yang's explanation. A hint of suspicion flashed in his eyes. At this time, a cold voice came from the darkness. "Hall master's son, just search his soul. Why bother talking to him so much?" Hearing this voice, Chen Yang's heart tightened, and he immediately recognized that it was the voice of the Blood Demon Peak Master. "Yes." Hall Master's son responded, then formed a hand seal with both hands, chanting words in his mouth. "I am not convinced. I am a true disciple. It is against the sect's regulations for you to search my soul." Chen Yang struggled, his eyes full of anger and unwillingness. However, Hall Master's son ignored Chen Yang's protest, waved his hands, and a ghostly green light shot towards Chen Yang's forehead. Chen Yang only felt a powerful force pouring into his mind, as if to tear his soul apart. He gritted his teeth and let out a painful roar, his body trembling violently. After a while, Hall Master's son withdrew his spell, a hint of doubt on his face. He respectfully said to the darkness, "Peak Master, no clues related to Ji Yuxuan were found in his soul." "That's strange." The Blood Demon Peak Master murmured in the darkness, his heart full of doubts. He felt that something was wrong when Ji Yuxuan suddenly disappeared that day, and he had been suspecting that Chen Yang was secretly playing tricks. "Not good, Peak Master, this Chen Yang is going crazy." Hall Master's son suddenly exclaimed. "I saw Chen Yang surrounded by black mist, his eyes red, and he roared like a beast. His body twisted uncontrollably, as if possessed by an evil force. Lock him in prison, the blood demon Peak Master ordered without hesitation. Yes. Hall Master Sun quickly directed several cultivators to drag the mad Chen Yang down. Chen Yang was taken away and imprisoned before he woke up. In fact, all of this was a trap set by Lu Yuan before Chen Yang returned. He first reset Chen Yang's divided soul to 0. The so-called reset is to reset and eliminate all his memories and personality, and then Lu Yuan transmitted part of the memory according to his own wishes. Of course, the extent of the transmission is completely controlled by Lu Yuan. In this divided soul, there is no memory of becoming a hostage, and no memory of Lu Yuan's own weird blessed land. In this way, no flaws can be found no matter how you search the soul. However, soul searching is, after all, an extremely terrifying method. At this time, Chen Yang has been tortured to madness and has lost his mind, but even so, he only needs to be reset once. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.